WPTF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Ambers. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
It's a beautiful afternoon in the Flower City, and we are ready for 3 hours of exceptional sports talk here on the Fan Rochester. Welcome on into the Sports Bar. Glad you're listening along in 95.7 FM AM 950, the free-to-download Odyssey app, and our YouTube channel and Twitch stream at the Fan Rochester. You can like and subscribe while you're there. I'm Mike Danger. That's Gene Battaglia.
I must have missed spring. It's summertime outside.
Spring
Danger,
is a
really,
myth.
yeah.
We know this, right? I mean, spring is a myth. We have fake spring, which lasts maybe like a day in Rochester. Maybe you get 2 days. That's fake spring. And, yeah, go right to summer. But then, the good news is, Gino, tomorrow, don't worry. It'll feel more like spring tomorrow when it rains on us again, as it always does.
That's it. Well, I always kind of wonder, why do we still have the Stanley Cup final in the month of June, where here in Rochester, at least, it's, north of 80 degrees, but this is kind of what we're used to, right? There's been discussion that the NHL should kind of move up the calendar a little bit, that you're done in May, you start in September. Would that actually help? It might help with in the Canadian markets a little bit. I'm not sure if it would help otherwise, but at least my frame of mind, it's like, okay, I've really got to kind of talk myself into, sitting down and watching the Cup final. But then I'm reminded it is Connor McDavid tonight. We'll talk some Cup playoff preview coming up with our buddy Dennis Bernstein, who is in Edmonton.
I think it exists so that I can watch it in my garage. I mean, if you did it much earlier, I don't know that I'd be able to enjoy the Italian living room as much. But I think that's why they push it out into June. I mean, what would you say? Game 7 would be June 20th? Yeah, it's a long season. And I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to go back and rack my brain. Like, growing up, I feel like when you got done with school, for me, there was always like two constants. It was the French Open. I feel like I always remember the French Open, the College World Series, and the Stanley Cup final. And that would have all been right around the end of May, early June, right?
So for you, like in Minnesota, they wrapped up school in May?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay.
You were usually done right around Memorial Day is what I remember growing up. And I know that that's different here and that I was talking to a teacher the other day. They're like, yeah, we're not. I mean, their school year essentially butts up to the 4th of July. They really.
You're talking to, a dad of a daughter who is going to be working up until the 4th of July. Yeah,
right.
It's different here.
It is.
It's different. So
it is. But I guess the other schools down south would start a lot earlier than we would. They'd get their school year started off in August, which that doesn't sound right either. So who knows if there's right way? But I'm just trying to equate memories of the sports calendar and how there were certain rites of passage. Just remember school being done. There was always French Open tennis and the Stanley Cup finals and the College World Series kind of all happening simultaneously. So we do have game 1 tonight from Edmonton, and Dennis Bernstein of the fourth period will be stopping by to give us his preview of the series between the Panthers and the Oilers. That's coming up here at 4:25. And as he does every Wednesday in the Sports Bar, to share nothing but winners with you, the host of Send It In and Odyssey Sports betting insider, PJ Glasser. And, of course, Insider Calls are presented by BetMGM. Check out all the latest lines today on the BetMGM app.
Yeah, as the NBA gets going tomorrow night, and it's Indiana, big underdogs going into OKC. 9.5, the Thunder favored by this in Game 1. And does that look like kind of a sucker bet there? That OKC, when they get rolling, they're hard to stop. We'll get PJ's thoughts here. Is this going to be a series or not? PJ Glasser will also have some baseball plays as well. He's coming up at the bottom of this hour.
Speaking of baseball plays, you're a Yankee fan. Were you gripping a little bit tight in the ninth inning last night?
Oh, with Williams?
Yeah.
It's going to be,
It's going to be a ride. It's going to be a ride with that one. I mean, you have to kind of figure, do they stand by him? Do they stick with him? Do they go by committee?
I still think you go back to last year.
You think he's ruined?
Yeah. You've seen this with other closers. They could have great stuff. It's such a mental thing. And what Pete Alonso did, if you don't remember that, Brewers are up 2-0. They're 2 outs away from advancing and deciding Game 3 in the wild card round, and Alonso hits a 3-run homer. Mets win.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Milwaukee was like, okay, you know what? What will you give us? We'll take Nestor Cortes. Devin Williams was the best closer in baseball up last year at Danger.
Yeah, and he doesn't look confident right now. Right about now, he needs a little bit of boost to confidence, and you could just, as you were watching last time, I was like, oof, this is tight. This guy is tight. He's not.
Should the Yankees move on from Devin Williams? Closers, relievers, they're easier to come by, in my opinion, than any other position because they burn hot, they burn out, and there's a lot of teams that aren't really good that might be looking to flip a closer here or there. Should the Yankees be in? Yeah, absolutely, they should be in the market for some bullpen help.
Hey, your Mets keep giving the Dodgers problems too.
Yeah, I'm not a true Met fan if I can't stay up. I commend because my feed is full of people just talking about the game I didn't stay up for last night past midnight.
Yeah.
It's tough when you got to work in the morning.
Of course. Well, Dodgers get the winning extras, but I mean the Mets just kind of keep pushing the Dodgers, and that fun series happening there as well. So we got a little bit of that to talk about this afternoon, and I think there's a lot of people still kind of reeling from yesterday's big story, which was the firing of Thibodeau from the New York Knicks.
It's not without precedent, but it's rare. Can we say that you have a season that maybe you're not achieving the ultimate success, but you're falling short? Like, okay, thought of another one as I'm driving home last night. Oh, yeah, Jimmy Johnson. Like, Jimmy Johnson wins a couple Super Bowls. Next year gets the NFC Championship game. That's a different animal. That was a complete falling out. That was, okay, we can't work together anymore. And what's interesting here, Danger, is who ordered the code red? No one seems to know. You have Chris Russo, the Mad Dog, saying, okay, this came from Dolan.
Has to.
You have Mike Francesa, who's swearing by his sources, he has it on good authority, that it was actually Leon Rose's decision and no other.
Oh, who cares?
Now,
Yeah, I don't know about that, man. I mean, like, that's his agent, right? That was his agent
at one point.
at one point.
At one point.
They just extended him last year. It was a $30 million
Yeah.
extension.
I had the take that you don't do this without having somebody lined up. And I put out there, give me Dan Hurley. I'm surprised, like the pushback. Mike Catalana's like, no, he'll never work in the NBA. I'm like, well, I don't know. Can we just kind of find that out? You know, yes, he's a little bit of a hothead, but I think he could adapt his style. I wouldn't put that past him.
Jeff Van Gundy.
He's at like plus 5,000 for the odds right now.
Really?
But on the other hand, he's like the number 2 guy with the Clippers. He got back into this not to be an assistant coach. He got back in to be a head coach. And what's Van Gundy's relationship like with the owner? Maybe. We did this once in Western New York, like, oh, man, if we only brought back Marv. They brought him back as a GM.
Mm-hmm.
How did that go?
Mm-hmm.
Not well.
So Mike Malone and Jay Wright are the front runners right now, the early front runners?
I don't think Jay Wright is. No.
I
I
don't.
mean, that's
I
a
mean,
betting. No. I would be stunned if Jay Wright came back in any capacity. But if you're looking just at the betting market, which we can't bet on here in New York State, it's Malone. It's a bunch of assistants. You know, I haven't seen anything concrete that they're talking to anybody yet.
Interesting. And what kind of a coach are they going to look at? Do they want to remain kind of like this defense first team? They've been a gritty defensive team, or do they kind of like adjust their approach, go a little bit more offensive minded with their hire? And what do you do with this roster? Is Brunson your franchise cornerstone? I mean, you listen to Brunson at the end of the series against Indiana, and it sure sounds like he didn't have a problem with Tibbs, that Tibbs and he were tight, and part of that might be his old man being on Tibbs' staff. But should the Knicks explore any and all options with their roster, including Jalen Brunson. Is anybody on that roster untouchable? I don't know that you can say there is somebody that's untouchable on that roster.
Yeah. Gosh, you mentioned Wright, but the guy that is being mentioned, Cavaliers assistant Johnny Bryant.
Well, the other Cavs assistant just got hired by Phoenix today.
Phoenix, yeah.
I mean, that's the kind of hire, though. If you make that move, if you hire an assistant from the Cavs or like give somebody their shot, that doesn't seem like the right move for the Knicks. It feels very like then you'd be saying like, oh, well, the Knicks are the Knicks again. Here they go again, because there's a lot of Knicks fans who, and I'm not surprised by this, that are just insulted by this move.
Well,
offended by this move.
I'm going to present to you another theory here, Danger. Anybody that wants to weigh in at 866-4FAN, 866-4326. And the theory is this. And let's just admit right off the top here, and some show hosts don't do this. When it comes to the NBA, you and I follow the NBA. We're fans, but I think we know the Bills inside and out, and we're pretty good.
Sure.
But when it comes to the NBA, okay, like there's smarter people out there.
Way more casual.
Yeah.
Way more casual with the NBA.
Yeah, like Trista Crick will join us tomorrow. We'll find out more about, okay, what exactly happened here. And as I pointed out, when you have Francesa and Russo disagreeing here, nobody seems to really know the story. But let's just kind of take some of the facts, all right? Fact number one, Tibbs, 67, okay? And he got his way. He does it his way. And his way is, these are my guys, and I'm going to play my guys. If there was any dissension between coach and those players, and the players are professional, which I believe Brunson is, I believe Cat is. We talk about his flaws. I don't think anything is wrong with him as a person or anything like that. They seem to be good teammates and they seem to be good employees, okay, on the surface. But what if they disagreed with the approach? What if they disagreed with playing all those damn minutes? Like, would you not be kind of voicing your concern along the way and see how this plays out? Ultimately, was this a kind of players like, hey, if there's a move here to be made, we could do this? Did this come from Brunson and the leadership on that team?
That's tough for me to stomach. I want guys who want to be on the court. Like, I want a team of guys who want to be out there. You have to drag me off the court or the field or the ice. I want all the minutes. I want all the playing time. I want to compete. I want to fight with you if you want to take me off prematurely. And if you have a roster full of guys that are going to complain about the minutes that they're getting, that they're playing too much, then I think you have a bigger problem. I think you have to rebuild. You have to get guys on that court that want to be on that court, that are competitors, that are killers, that you have to fight with them to get them to come off. They're going to be petulant about having to come off. They don't want to come off. You know what I'm saying?
There's another report, and maybe there's something to this too, and this goes to my theory that they already know the Knicks who they want. And Mark Stein is reporting that there are two coaches that the Knicks are interested in. However, they have currently jobs. One is Houston's Ime Udoka. You remember the story with him. Bright young coach, Boston, kind of got himself into the situation. It's understandable why Boston moved on. He's in Houston now. And that's the one where I'm like, yeah, if I'm Houston, I'm like, they're an up-and-coming team. They could take that next step, particularly if they improve their roster this offseason. I don't think I'm trading Udoka to the Knicks. But what about a well-known head coach who recently made the finals, who's working under new ownership, and takes a look around like, what the hell is going on here in Dallas? What about Jason Kidd? What about Jason Kidd? That's the name, and whether this is true or not, could the Knicks make a run at Kidd?
I don't like either of those solutions for the Knicks. I think Kidd is just okay. I don't like Udoka. Udoka would be exciting, but what you would have to give up, I think, is more than what you'd want to give up.
I would want to give up assets to improve the roster, not a coach. When coaches, you're very transient in this league.
Right.
Yeah, not doing that.
Right. So I do think, though, that if you're going to make a move like this, you do have to have a plan. You have to have something in mind, and you've probably had something in mind throughout the course of the end of the season into the postseason. If you're the New York Knicks, now it's just a matter of dotting I's and crossing T's and getting the person that you were planning on getting all along, provided that person is still out there. And the one that kind of makes the most sense would be Mike Malone. If it's Michael Malone, younger guy than Tibbs, has an NBA title under his belt.
And I think he would play well in New York.
I think so, too.
I think we've observed him enough dealing with the Denver media that it seems to be a straight shooter.
Think so, too. Well, it'll be interesting. The aftermath has been fun to consume. Man, just Knick fans insulted, just offended by this move.
Well, to give you an idea how big a story it is, it's the Mets, pregame interview. In baseball, you have the manager speaks before the game and after the game. It's a little different.
Yeah.
And here you have Carlos Mendoza being asked about the Knicks.
Yeah.
And hey, you're in New York. What? And he's like, hey, you don't have, you take anything for granted. Paraphrasing what he's saying there, basically, particularly in New York.
That's right.
But can you imagine that? Like, hey, that's the topic of conversation. We're not talking about the game against the Dodgers tonight. We're talking about what happened with the Knicks here, and that's how big a story it was down, just not in New York City, but around the NBA.
Yeah, I wonder if Lindy Ruff gets upset if anybody asks him about the Bills, if they're in the postseason, or if there's a big story going on during the hockey season. That there's been a little bit of that crossover between the Bills and the Sabres, and based on our conversation with Matthew Fairburn yesterday, that eats at the culture of the Buffalo Sabres.
Yeah, that was funny how Fairburn brought up Bills Day. We didn't make a big deal of that. It was, okay, it's Bills Day.
We talked about it.
We talked about it.
It's a minor league move.
There's Sean McDermott driving the Zamboni around. He's talking about always wanting to drive a Zamboni. We're going to play the Shout song. How many Bills were actually in attendance? None.
It was an unserious franchise move. It's the kind of thing that a minor league team does, but you're an NHL team.
Well, who is sitting at home over dinner and be like, the Sabres are home against Winnipeg on Tuesday, but it's Bills night. Hey, we're Bills fans. Let's go. Who thinks like that?
I don't think anybody thinks like that.
No.
If anything, I think it was a promotion to try and get more people excited about the Bills' new stadium, and we need to sell more tickets and more PSLs and promote that, because that felt like, as I was watching Bills game that night, and Goelli is being interviewed, it felt more like a business move than a promotion. Like, hey, let's get more people excited about the Bills and what we've got coming up with this team.
Well, I would say this. The Amerks do this, and, that's a minor league team. And it's also a little more out of season. That was in the month of March, and it's a Sunday afternoon. You can bring the kids in, and you're wearing the special jerseys, which you're auctioning off for who knows what. It's a lot there. I don't have any problem with the minors.
If you're a minor league team, you need promotions to get butts in seats. It's totally fine. I have zero issue with the Amerks doing it. I have zero issue with the Red Wings doing whatever they need to do. These are minor league organizations trying to fill the barn, trying to fill the stadium, and you do what you have to do. You're an NHL franchise. NHL franchises shouldn't have this kind of an issue, and it shouldn't need these kind of gimmicks to get people into seats. You can do promotions, and there's certainly nothing that's going to stop them from doing promotions, but that one does feel weird. What if maybe the Marlins need to do Dolphins Day or something like that to get more than 5,000 people in their
oh my gosh,
in their stadium?
Oh my gosh.
What do you have?
Breaking news, Danger.
Breaking news
Breaking
in the
news.
sports bar. Just happening, right? Your real reaction?
Ow! 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 It really hit me. I didn't know it was coming back that far.
This would be a major Francesa any other time, right? Who cares?
Did it have something to do with the Marlins? Did I hit on something? No.
The Rockies have swept the Marlins.
Oh!
The Rockies beat the Marlins 3-2 today.
Oh, who cares?
That's not a who cares. That's like the Marlins are the new Rockies.
Yeah, the Rockies are back.
Kyle Freeland with the win. His record now 1-8 on the season.
Attaboy.
That's shame. And I saw the pictures from Monday. I'm like, There's nobody there.
There's nobody there.
There is no one
What
at this game.
Absolute zero of a series. The Marlins hosting the Rockies. The Rockies didn't even have 10 wins on the season. Nobody cares about the Marlins. I think there were less than 7,000, maybe 5,000 people, and that's being generous.
Why are we bothering with this team in Miami? Because they were dumb enough to build a ballpark? I'm asking honestly. Like, no one goes to their games unless it's the Yankees or the Red Sox or the Mets or whoever. Like, that is a terrible fan base. But yet we're talking about expansion.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
You've already got a few minor league teams playing Major League Ball, the Rockies being one.
Well, and then you have two teams playing in legitimately minor league parks because they don't have a plan. There's no plan for the Rays.
No.
And spare me, like, okay, when I see actual framework of the stadium in Vegas, I'll believe it for the A's.
Yeah, it's gross, and that attendance is. You could probably, if you were at the game, you could probably go section by section and count how many fans are actually in attendance if you went to the game. Would that be more entertaining than watching the Rockies and the Marlins? I think it would be. I think it would be more entertaining to go to the game, grab a beer, grab a dog, and just count. Just count how many fans are actually there.
I'm looking for the attendance, and they don't list it. What does that tell you? I mean, there were more people at the Red Wing game on a cold night
On Saturday night.
Than this game.
We'll get to PJ Glasser. He is the host of Send It In on the BetMGM Network. We'll get some winners for tonight's action. The Stanley Cup Final Game 1 gets underway. We'll preview the NBA Finals between OKC and Indiana. We have Major League Baseball action, and we're getting ready for the U.S. Open, Canadian Open this weekend, if I'm not mistaken.
Short drive if you want to go, yeah.
PJ Glasser will give us winners in all things sports betting next. The host of Send It In, the BetMGM Network, joining us on The Fan.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
NHL Stanley Cup Final begins tonight. Game 1 in Edmonton, Oilers and Panthers. Connor McDavid of Edmonton looking for his first championship.
You feel closer. There's a big circus. It can feel like it's larger than it is. At the end of the day, it's another series, and we're playing another great team, and you got to beat them before anything else happens. So they have our complete focus. All of our energy is in going into beating the Florida Panthers. There should be nothing else on anyone's mind.
NBA Finals get going tomorrow night. We'll get the thoughts of PJ Glasser, your host of Send It In on the BetMGM Network. He joins us next. Rochester Red Wings gave up 7 runs in the bottom of the first, could not recover. They lose in Central Massachusetts today against Worcester, 9-1. On the Major League scoreboard, Red Sox trailing the Angels 8-7. The Rockies swept the Marlins 3-2 the final today. Gene Battaglia, The Fan, Rochester.
The beer is cold and the wings are hot. You're in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
We're joined now by the host of Send It In, Odyssey Sports Betting Insider PJ Glasser. Insider calls presented by BetMGM. Go check out all the latest lines today on the BetMGM app. PJ, we're going to talk NBA Finals. We'll talk Stanley Cup Finals. But we were just talking about the Knicks' decision to fire Tom Thibodeau. And we can't bet on this in New York State, but Vegas sometimes knows. And I imagine that right now it's Mike Malone is the favorite to replace Tibbs. What are you hearing, and what are your thoughts on how the Knicks season ended, 1, and 2, their decision to move off a coach that got them somewhere they hadn't been in 25 years?
So I love the decision, fellas, personally. I know that a bunch of people are personally split on this, but it's great that I'm on with you guys, right? Because obviously, Gene, massive Bills fan. You guys are in Rochester. Bunch of your listeners, massive Bills fans. I'm a Ravens fan. And I think our two franchises are in the similar situation where the Knicks are. And I commend the Knicks for what they did yesterday because it wasn't easy. It took a lot of stones on their part, but they get it. They understand the goal is not to have good regular seasons and go to Eastern Conference Finals. The goal is to win a championship. And the Knicks understand that they are not going to do that with Tom Thibodeau. Tibbs is a good coach, but he's not going to get you over the top. I kind of compare it to when the Warriors got rid of Mark Jackson and went with Steve Kerr, right? When that move happened, a lot of us didn't understand it. We could all see that Golden State was kind of like OKC right now, right? Or last year when they were kind of the next team coming. And Golden State understood with Mark Jackson, their ceiling was probably Western Conference Final, maybe get to a final, but they weren't going to win it. So they bring in Steve Kerr, and obviously they turned into a dynasty. That's what the Knicks are trying to get to. Now, obviously the hard part is trying to figure out who they're going to get, right? You mentioned Mike Malone, Danger, certainly the favorite. They maybe go after Taylor Jenkins, who was in Memphis, or Mike Brown, who was the Kings coach most recently. But it's obviously a risky move because they could have played it safe and gone with Tibbs and run it back, but they're trying to make a move to bring in the guy that they can win a championship with. And I compare it to the Bills and the Ravens because obviously, right, they have played it safe these last number of years with Harbaugh and McDermott. They keep rolling it back, and both guys are obviously very good coaches. There are a number of teams around the NFL that would love to have those two guys as their coaches, but there are plenty of Ravens fans, myself included, and I think there are plenty of Bills fans out there who want somebody new to try and risk, losing a good coach to try and bring in a great coach to get you over the hump. And I love what the Knicks did because even though it's a risk and a lot of people won't understand the decision, they understand they have a window. They're trying to go for it. The East is wide open next year. And if they bring in a coach that can get them over the top, then I think it's a move worth making.
Yeah, PJ, follow up here. Help us to understand what's going down there in Maryland because here, from the outside, McDermott, you can't get by. He's as safe as a kitten. You got to trust us on this one. The owner, the GM.
Really?
Yep. He's not going anywhere. If the Bills fell apart, it's not even up for discussion. Now, can the same be said about Harbaugh if it's another season where you fall short?
It's funny, Gene. Harbaugh, his seat, man, it moves unlike anything I've ever seen. It's like one of those roller coasters that just goes up and down, right? So the year before they got Lamar and kind of that final year of Flacco, he was out the door. and then Lamar wins MVP, and then he has a warm seat, right? They get the number 1 seed. And then it got hot again after the AFC Championship game against Kansas City with the way that they just didn't run the ball and how they lost that game, and everybody was fed up. And then losing to Buffalo this past year, I think Andrews took so much of the heat for that, that it kind of really didn't shine too much blame on Harbaugh. So it depends on the Ravens fans that you ask. I'm certainly in the group of I'd like to see them move on and bring somebody else. Now, I'm surprised to hear from you, Gene, that, McDermott is as safe as he is. I wouldn't say Harbaugh is that level, but I certainly think he's good. I mean, he just signed a new contract extension with the team, so I think he's certainly bought himself a couple more years for sure. But yeah, look, if they miss the playoffs this year, I think there's a chance that he could definitely be on the hot seat. But as of now, heading into the season, I think his seat's pretty cool at this point.
Danger, back me up on this, because I think that's a disconnect between media on the outside and media here, right? Like Sean McDermott, regardless of what happens,
he's not going anywhere.
Safe.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere. They love him. They absolutely love him. The ownership loves him, and as long as ownership loves him, and we've been discussing a lot about Terry Pagula and how he might be loyal to a fault when you look at how dysfunctional the Sabres have been, and they've got the longest playoff drought streak in professional sports at 14 seasons, partially because this guy is so loyal to the people that he believes in, and we know how he feels about the Bills and how he feels about Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott. They're safe.
And again, fellas, for everybody who thinks what the Knicks did yesterday is out of their mind, just look at the Mark Jackson example, like I said, when the Warriors moved on from him, brought on Steve Kerr. How about the Eagles, right? All the success they had from Andy Reid, it was time to move on. They go and get Doug Peterson. They won a ring. Then they moved on again, got Nick Sirianni, got a ring. So It's like these coaches that have had a number of years of success, or they're building up a team, this idea that they have to see it through, or you have to give them opportunities before they finally break through. I'm always in the mindset, win a championship. You have a window. The Bills have Allen. The Ravens have Lamar. Who knows when they're ever going to get a quarterback like those two again, especially in our lifetimes. The Knicks obviously have a window now in the East. I think you got to go for it. And if you don't have the coach that you think you can win a title with, then you got to find somebody that you can.
Well, it's funny. In the NFL, you mentioned, we'll use Harbaugh and McDermott as the examples here. A quarterback can be one hell of a deodorant for a head coach. In the NBA, though, it really feels like the players matter. And if Tibbs gets fired, is it really on him, or is it that the Knicks just don't have it as far as the complete roster, the complete championship roster? You want to believe that you've got enough pieces there, but you got a guy in Brunson who doesn't play defense. You've got a guy in Cat who should play defense but doesn't play defense. I guess my question, PJ, is do the Knicks have enough on their roster? Should they be considering not just the coach but the rest of their roster, and is anybody untouchable right now?
No question, Danger. Not all this is on Tibbs, obviously. I mean, you look at the teams that are playing in the finals, right? And I know we're getting ready to break down that matchup. OKC and Indiana, two of the deepest teams in the league. So for this era that we were kind of that we're in, that we really thought we were entering with super teams and everybody kind of joining forces, at the end of the day, it's the teams that are left standing this season are two of the deepest teams in the NBA, right? And so that's obviously something that the Knicks face. They got rid of their depth when they traded for Cat in the offseason. They got rid of their future picks when they acquired Mikal Bridges. So they've gone all in, and they got to figure it out with this core, but they also got to bring in some great veteran pieces. Look, every team, when you win a championship, your stars got to play like stars, but you also need the others to help you, right? So the Knicks got to figure this thing out. They obviously, Brunson's their guy, Towns, Bridges, Anunoby, they've invested. The front office, though, they got to bring in some good pieces this offseason to help that bench. But again, I mean, the biggest knocks on Tibbs, right, is that he would run his starters into the ground. He would play him so many minutes regular season and then especially in the postseason. So I'm interested to see this new coach, kind of how he works the minutes going into next year. And then, I mean, Danger, like you said, right, the front office certainly on them, not only to get the hire right at head coach, but also bring in some more depth and help that bench out next season as well.
PJ Glasser, host of Send It In on the BetMGM network. Let's break the seal here on Pacers and Thunder, the series that I think if you're a basketball fan, you're going to have a lot of fun with. Or maybe not. Maybe this is over quick because I'm looking at the point spread here tonight, PJ, where the Pacers are getting 9.5, and that feels almost like a trap. Like, oh, wait a second, the Pacers are going to give them a game. Maybe not. Oklahoma City has been fantastic. So how do you play tonight? How do you play this series, PJ?
So, fellas, my thoughts on game one. I think if you like Indiana, you bet them outright. You take the money line plus 340, you take them to win the game. If you like OKC, I'd lay the points. I'd also bet some alt lines. Like, not only bet the 9.5, bet like 20.5, 24.5. I think if OKC wins game one, I think they crush them. I think they could win by like 30. And then obviously if Indiana wins, I just think they win the game. The reason for that, both of these teams are two of the most unique teams in the NBA. They're so difficult to prepare for. Guys, listen to this stat. OKC in the regular season, they were 29-1 against the Eastern Conference. 29-1. They only lost one game against the East the entire year. And I'm going to compare this again to Lamar and his record against the NFC. He's like 24-2 all time against the NFC in his career. And I think what makes Lamar so tough against the NFC is those teams don't really see him, and you can't account for the speed. And it's like OKC, when these East teams don't see him very much, you can't account for that defense and the pressure and the tenacity and how great they are on that end of the floor. So these teams in the West that get to see him 3-4 times a year, they're a little more used to it. These Eastern Conference teams, obviously, it's a different beast when you're going up against OKC's defense. So that's why I think they can really blow out Indiana in game one, because if you're not used to it, it can really get up on you. And we've certainly seen the Thunder blow plenty of games, blow teams out already, plenty of games in the postseason. And then on the flip side, the case for Indiana to win the game outright, well, they're 3-0 in game ones already this series. And, I mean, how different are they, right, than every other team in the NBA? Nobody else full court presses in the NBA. Nobody plays at the pace that they do. They obviously use their bench a great deal. Their substitution patterns are terrific. And, I mean, Halliburton and Siakam have just had a knack at the end of these games to find a way to win them. So that's why I think there's a case for both teams, fellas. And I like getting some great plus money numbers tomorrow night. So I like Indiana plus 340, or I like OKC on the alt lines, like I said. I do like Oklahoma City to win the series, though. It feels like OKC in 5. I think the Pacers can get one game in this series. I think they're going to have a tough time getting 2, though. So tomorrow night certainly could be the game that they could win. But I'm rolling with the Thunder in 5.
What about player props, PJ? And we'll keep an eye on Halliburton. Certainly SGA has arrived as the MVP of the league. Is there anything there with specifically with those two players, any other players that you're watching here in terms of what their performance might look like tomorrow night in game one?
You know, SGA, the player props are going to be interesting for him, guys, because, again, OKC, their defense is so great. There's probably going to be a game or two in this series where they could blow out Indiana, right? And obviously if they're blowing them out, SGA only might play 28, 29, 30 minutes, whereas Halliburton, probably not going to be many games, if any, where Indiana blows out OKC. Maybe one, because Oklahoma City's not been good on the road against the spread so far this postseason. But I would more so look at player props with Halliburton, I think, just because there's a much better chance that he's going to play 40 minutes in, a night-to-night basis in this series rather than SGA would. As for game one, though, guys, I'm targeting TJ McConnell under 7.5 points. As great as the Knicks series was for him from a matchup standpoint, coming in the game, attacking Brunson, I mean, that OKC perimeter defense, right? Like whether it's Lou Dort, Caruso, SGA, they can just throw so many guys on McConnell, and he's already somebody who only plays like 15 minutes a game to begin with. So I like under 7.5 points for him. And then Ben Shepherd, who comes off the bench for Indiana, great shooter. We saw how many threes OKC was willing to give up against Minnesota in that series. So I think OKC is going to be willing to give up some threes. Ben Shepherd had just hit 1 3 in game one. You guys minus 120. So McConnell under points, Shepherd hit a 3. A couple of player props that I like tomorrow. But if I had to go between SGA and Halliburton, I'd probably target Halliburton.
All right, so the novice in me, PJ, when it comes to whether it's the NBA or the NHL, when you're talking about the MVP here, because in the NBA, what is the value there? I don't see any. And for that matter, when we're talking, as we kind of segue over here to the Cup final, which begins tonight, Connor McDavid won the Conn Smythe last year. He was on the losing team, and he's the favorite again. And I'm like, well, if Edmonton wins, he's certainly going to win it again. And I'm looking at Florida. Your guess is as good as mine who might be. Am I right in thinking that too hard to predict, or there's no value when it comes to the finals MVP here?
No, Gene, I'm with you. I think there's some great value on Conn Smythe this year. I think if you're looking Florida, I would look Sam Bennett, right? Certainly Barkov's terrific. Bobrovsky's future Hall of Famer. He's been awesome. Kachuk's their best player, but he's not fully healthy. I mean, Bennett, you could argue, has maybe been their best player so far in this playoff run this season. And getting him at 30-1, I think, is a great price. For Edmonton guys, I look at Stuart Skinner. Obviously, wouldn't surprise me if McDavid or certainly Draisaitl won Conn Smythe. But, I mean, you look at Stuart Skinner, he's had 3 shutouts already this postseason. And I think why Edmonton got back to the Cup, why so many people like them to get their revenge and win it again this time, is because it feels like this is the best goaltending McDavid and Draisaitl have had going into a postseason and that they've had during a postseason run. And Bobrovsky's odds are plus 250. Skinner's odds are 35-1. Just doesn't make sense that the two goalies are that far apart. And with all the firepower both these teams have, you know, especially at forward, I mean, if these are low-scoring games that Edmonton are able to win, Skinner's absolutely going to get consideration. So I like his price a ton at 35-1, you guys.
And BetMGM giving us an interesting stat. Every team that has gone down 0-2 in the first round and then reached the Stanley Cup final has won the Stanley Cup. And that includes, in your neck of the woods there,
the Caps.
Yeah, the Caps in 2018 who won the Cup. The Oilers qualify for this. So I guess my question is, how do you see this series playing out? How many games and who's hoisting it when it's all said and done?
I like the Oilers this year. I do, Gene. I think they get it. You know, I'm going to go Oilers in 7. I think this one's going 7 again. And, you know, the Game 7 was in Florida last year. If they have a Game 7, it's going to be at Edmonton this year. These teams are awesome. It's great that we're getting a rematch. I just think it's McDavid's year, you guys, right? We saw him score the game winner in the Four Nations. Now he's got a chance to hoist his first cup. I don't know if you guys saw the stat, and you know I'm a big narrative guy, and once I saw this, I'm like, yeah, it's McDavid's year, it's the Oilers' year. When Gretzky got his first cup, it was on the second leg of a rematch, right? He had lost to the Islanders the previous year, and then won the next year. That was his first cup. Crosby against the Red Wings lost the first year. They had the rematch, won his first cup, and now here we go with McDavid, lost to the Panthers, rematch, has a chance to win his first cup. So, I mean, the way that sports work sometimes, and just like that kind of symmetry and poetry, I think it's his year, right? Sometimes with athletes, it's just the great ones, they're due. Crosby got his, Ovi got his. I think it's McDavid's turn to finally get his. So I like the Oilers, fellas. I think it's going to be another long series, though. So I'll go Oilers in 7. I do like the Panthers tonight, though, in Game 1. So if the Panthers win tonight, like I think they will, you can obviously get plus money on the Oilers to win the series. So I would wait to bet Edmonton after tonight because I do like Florida in the Game 1 tonight.
As we look ahead here to this weekend, staying in Canada, you got the Canadian Open. And I don't know if you saw this, PJ, like a little hat tip to the Colorado Rockies. It took a lot of grief, right? Deservedly so.
Yeah.
Rockies putting this out this afternoon, Danger. Win since June 2nd. Colorado Rockies 3, Scotty Scheffler none. Correct me if I'm right, Scheffler's not in the Canadian Open. Who do you like here, PJ?
He is not, Gene, right? So no Scheffler. So I think a lot of people are actually maybe wanting to bet golf this week, thinking that the tournament you maybe have a chance to hit a big number. I regret to inform people, though, that Rory is in the field this week, and Rory loves Canada. He loves playing there. And this course is just, I mean, it is tailor-made for his game. Last week they played at the Memorial Jacks tournament, and that course really is like the perfect course for Scotty. He's gone back-to-back there. This course this week, TPC Toronto, it really is made for Rory. Like this is the 7th longest course that they have played on the PGA Tour since 2018. It's a par 70, playing just under 7,400 yards. You have a ton of 480, 90-yard par fours, some 500-yard par fours. It's a big course, but the fairways they're very wide. The rough really isn't all that drastic, certainly not like what you're going to see next week at Oakmont. But, again, you're just looking for bombers this week. You're looking for guys that hit it long off the tee, good with their long irons, and can, have streaky putters, because I do think we're going to see some low scoring this week. So I like Rory. I think you can bet him at plus 450. I really like him top 5 at minus 110. I think that's the bet to make with Rory. A couple other guys, Taylor Pendrith this week is a Toronto native. He's played this course more than anybody else in the field, and he's also in great form. Scotty Scheffler led the field last week in strokes gained tee to green. Who was second? Taylor Pendrith. So he's playing great golf, good course history, and obviously there in Canada, he's going to want to get the job done. And then Gary Woodland is another guy that I would look at down the board at 60-1. Gary, long hitter, good with his long irons. And guys, the RBC Canadian Open, they've kind of moved it around Canada the last few years. They kind of play it in like different courses around the Toronto area. And Gary seems to always be comfortable out there in Canada. So he likes playing out there, and this course should set up really well for him. So Rory, Woodland, Pendrith, 3 guys I would look at this week.
PJ, what about tonight's action on the Diamond, Major League Baseball? Any plays that stand out to you?
I'm going to fade my Orioles tonight, guys. I'm going with Seattle, minus 110 in a pick-em against Maury's son, Cade Povich, for the Orioles. They've been pitching a lot better. They're 7-9 in their last 9 games, 7-2 in their last 9 games, I should say. But they've had a really tough time taking the first 2 games of series against good teams. They won yesterday. So until they can prove to me they can win the first 2 games of a series, I'm going to fade them. I'm going to take Seattle tonight in that one. I'm also going to take the over in Mets-Dodgers. It's 10 right now. Anytime I see a 10 at Dodger Stadium, that's a little suspicious to me that somebody knows something, and we're going to be in for some runs. So Dodgers and Mets, their offenses have been pretty high scoring here as of late. I think that's going to be an over game. So I like Seattle money line tonight and over in Dodgers and Mets.
Griffin Canning's been doing a good job for the Mets this year. And I'm like, wait a second. All of a sudden, he was terrible with the Angels. So, yeah, I wouldn't say that's going to be under in that game. PJ, tell everybody about Send It In and where they can catch more of you.
Yes, send it in, fellas. We're on the BetMGM network. You can catch us on Twitch, on YouTube. We live stream the show on Twitter as well, just at the BetMGM network, 1 to 1:30 p.m. Eastern time every Monday through Friday. And it's a lot like these interviews we do every week. It's rapid fire. We hit a bunch of different sports, and it's interactive, so people can chime in and they can ask questions throughout the show and tell me what they're betting on that specific day, and it's a lot of fun.
Love having you on, bud. Enjoy the rest of your week. Let's do it again next week.
Yes, sir. Thanks, fellas. Talk to you next week.
He's PJ Glasser, the host of Send It In. Odyssey Sports Betting Insider and Insider Calls are presented by BetMGM. Check out all the latest lines today on the BetMGM app.
When we talk to Dennis Bernstein next hour,
yeah,
I was watching a little bit of him and David. They do a great job in the fourth period. He said this Stanley Cup final will be better than last year's. Like, wait a second. Last year's went to 7 games. What more could you want?
Barf, cry, and die.
Yeah,
that's what I want.
Yeah, I want Dennis to kind of explain. I want he goes into his reasons here, but okay, that's setting the bar pretty high there.
How about PJ loving the move off of Thibodeau for the New York Knicks? And his rationale, if that's the mindset that you're in, hey, we're not going to be complacent. We're not going to settle. Yes, it's a risk. We're not going to settle for just making an appearance in the Eastern Conference Final. We're here to win championships, and we need to get a championship coach with this what we believe to be a championship roster. And he's not wrong. He mentioned Jackson and Steve Kerr. You can go back to Doug Collins, who was wildly popular in Chicago before they hired a no-name named Phil Jackson, and the rest is history. Maybe that's some of that history that the Knicks are trying to conjure up with this hire for everybody that's upset at this move. Ultimately, it is still about winning titles, and if you want to win a title and this isn't the guy that's going to get it done for us, it's risky.
Does it sting, though, that here we are just doing our normal show, and I could imagine there's a Bills fan like, wait a second. Like, you're catching strays here bringing up Sean McDermott in a conversation about the New York Knicks.
It's true. It's true. Do you think he's the guy that can get them a Super Bowl? A lot of people want to believe that. Sean McDermott believes it. We know he believes it. He has to. He has to believe that with every start of a new season, he's going to win the Super Bowl. This is the year we're going to bring a title to Buffalo.
You know, the topic we had last week was, you know, Sean McDermott's doing a lot more sit-downs, right, with Matt Perino, and then he was with Sal Capaccio, and we brought up, hey, wonder, like, should we bring on who we've never had on, Sean McDermott, on to our show? And missed this comment after we got off the air. This was Jack writing in. I'm afraid that the negotiation to get McDermott on an interview the sports bar would mean no more McDermott McLies. That's a great bit that I would hate to see go. So I vote no. No thanks, coach. Done. That didn't even cross my mind. Like, okay, you know, that would be a give and take. Like, no, we're not going to let go of McLies.
You know, the McLies happen. There's a reason why we do McDermott McLies on a Wednesday. It's because Wednesday is when he starts to get asked about this week's opponent, and the lies aren't. They're lies because he has to. He doesn't really believe what he's saying when he talks about his opponent. He really knows, like, okay, let's look at when the Patriots have to play the Bills, right? Week 5. You know, he'll be asked about Diggs. Oh, that will be rich. That will be a rich press conference loaded with McLies.
Oh, he did so much for us.
Yeah.
You know, we wish. Yeah.
Oh, he's just going to pour it on and pour it on thick because he has to in that position where he's at and how they answer. He has to. So that's the coach speak and the heaping of praise on an opponent that you have to respect this opponent. Dude, you're playing the Panthers. You don't have to respect the Panthers. Like they're not where you are.
Are we ever going to get a coach in our lifetime in the NFL that would just do that? Coach would be instantly like, you know, this opponent, they suck. They can't stop the run. They can't do it. Like anybody that would actually tell you the truth.
It won't happen.
No,
it won't happen. But it would be fun if even if they tiptoed up to the line, like, oh, we see some deficiencies on their defense. You know, like if you said something even that disrespectful, it's bulletin board material, and then you run the risk of losing your job the following week if that bad defense somehow stops your potent offense. Good stuff from PJ. Appreciate the time as always. Next hour, we check in with Dennis Bernstein of the fourth period, who you mentioned, Gino, in Edmonton for the start of tonight's Stanley Cup final between the Oilers and the Panthers. We've got more on the way next, and we have plenty of time for your phone calls if you want to join us. 866-4FAN. Jack's not a real name. 866-4326.
You're listening to the Sports Bar. WBEE HD2 Rochester and streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
NHL Stanley Cup Final begins tonight. It's the Oilers and the Panthers. Paul Maurice is the head coach of Florida.
It's going to be physical. It's going to be really fast. It's going to be really skilled. I don't think there's one component that's going to take over it other than whatever one does, and then we'll point at that to be the difference. There's just a bunch of 10 factors here.
Dennis Bernstein from the fourth period joins us later this hour. He's up in Edmonton. Rochester Red Wings, not a good afternoon. They gave up 7 runs in the bottom of the first. They end up losing to Worcester 9-1. On the Major League scoreboard, the Rockies get the sweep. They defeat the Marlins today 3-2. Top of the 8th, the Angels leading in Boston 9-8. It was the Brewers over the Reds 9-1. Yankees host the Guardians tonight. The Mets again in LA against the Dodgers. Gene Battaglia on the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
OTA Week 3 is wrapped up.
It's a little bit harder to evaluate what you're seeing out there because there just aren't as many opportunities for competitive situations.
Talking a lot of Knicks so far in the firing of Tom Thibodeau. Well, who will replace him?
Tomorrow, the NBA Finals open up.
The Stanley Cup Final begins tonight in Edmonton. The Panthers won this matchup in 7 games last spring.
It's a real toss-up. I see it going 7 games, and I've got the Oilers, but I'm not super confident about it.
I think it's great for hockey if Connor McDavid is chasing the Stanley Cup.
Mike Danger.
Let's talk about what's important. Will Oilers girl be at game 1?
Oh, yeah, folks.
Woo, go Oilers! That's leadership right there. Oilers in 4. Let's go!
Gene Battaglia.
We will have, one way or another, former Buffalo Sabre hoisting the trophy. I personally want Edmonton, if nothing more, to add Skinner to that list.
95.7 FM and AM 950. The
Vander
Fan.
Kane, too.
Rochester.
Oh, God, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh. Welcome back to the Sports Bar. It's Danger and Battaglia. The Stanley Cup Final gets underway tonight from Edmonton. The NBA Finals get underway tomorrow. This is the time of year where we have to clarify the difference between the two sports.
Because it's like the Stanford Cardinals. They were the Stanford Cardinals, but they had to differentiate themselves. Now, do I have permission to poke fun at you?
And me.
You'll see where I'm going with this.
I mean, I would be nothing without some self-deprecation. Please, fire away, Gino.
Okay, so you had the question to me during break, hey, are all 7 games on TNT? The answer is yes.
Yeah.
So hopefully you have a streaming service, but if you're on Fubo, sorry, and that's
me. I'm
Danger.
a Fubo guy.
You can come over, but I was just kind of curious, like, okay, who is actually on the call? And you're going to have, the anchoring the desk there. You're going to have Lundqvist and Gretzky, Liam McHugh. Okay, that's good on TNT. And then your color guys, Brian Boucher and Eddie Olczyk. Okay, that's good. Calling this game, Kenny Albert.
Marv's brother.
It is not Marv's brother. You believed it was Marv's brother. That is Marv's son, Kenny Albert.
I don't believe that's his brother.
Kenny
They've always been
Albert.
brothers. They've been around for years. That's impossible. That's not his son. That's his brother. They've both been around forever. Same amount of time.
Where is Marv these days? Do you think Marv is watching the NBA and he's just like, I could have done that?
He's Kenny. Marv and Kenny, interchangeable.
No.
They're the same guy. They're brothers. I'm telling you, there might as well be twins.
Pretty soon we're just going to have AI whoever. Like we had AI Al Michaels at the Olympics. Like what is, you have like AI Marv Albert.
It's
NBA
coming.
Finals, yeah.
That's unfortunate for me. But I'm trying to think because I watched last year's final. Is it alternating year by year? Like 1 year ESPN Disney gets the final, the next year TNT gets it.
I think that's the way it works.
It has to be that way. All right. Well, there's going to be a lot of watering holes in my vicinity. They're going to get my my hard earned so I can watch some of these games. Being that I'm a Fubo guy, I brought this up to PJ. I think it's an interesting stat. 7 times in NHL Stanley Cup Final history, a team has gone down 0-2 in the first round and then reached the Stanley Cup Final. Then every time, all 7 times, they have won the cup. And this dates back to 1992, the Pittsburgh Penguins winning the cup. 93, it was the Canadiens. 2002, the Red Wings won the Stanley Cup after falling 0-2 in the first round. I don't want to bring up 2006, but Carolina won the Cup. 2011, it was the Bruins over Vancouver in the Cup final. In 2014, it was the LA Kings. As recently as 2018, the Washington Capitals. And this happened with the Oilers this year. Will the Oilers keep this trend alive and win a Stanley Cup? Connor McDavid's first in 2025.
Last time we had teams, do you know the answer to this? We had a rematch. That was the Red Wings and Penguins. And you got to go back beyond last decade. It was 08-09. Red Wings winning the one in 08 and 6. But then Pittsburgh comes back and wins in 7 games in 09. Dan Bilesmo was the head coach of the Penguins back then. Wow.
It's funny, man, because we spend a lot of time. I'm guilty of it. We look at what's going on in Florida in the NHL between Tampa and the Panthers, and we think to ourselves, oh, it's an unfair advantage. Palm trees and taxes and blah, 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 blah. This isn't new in the NHL. Good-run organizations, well-run organizations find themselves in the Stanley Cup final. The Penguins, and talented, obviously talent wins the day. But you look at the Penguins, you look at the Red Wings, you look at the Avalanche. For a period of time, the Blackhawks, the Blackhawks are a horribly run organization, but they had talent and they won cups.
Well, and conversely, if you're not well-run, it doesn't automatically mean, like, you thought of this example after we were talking about that. Like, okay, sure. You cannot say it's not a factor that, having great weather and having advantages in your tax bracket, that certainly is a factor. Explain to me the Orlando Magic. Explain to me how, since the year 1998, the Rays, as a franchise, can't even figure out a stadium, and they're going to be on the move. Like, these things, like, Danger, if you're poorly run, you can't, other things, you can't overcome it.
Yeah, I mean, the good news with both Tampa and Florida is not only they're well run, but they've got exceptional talent on the ice, which leads to them being a contender every year, and Florida once again finding themselves in the final. I mean, what's Edmonton's excuse? Canadian taxes aren't great. They have Connor McDavid. They have the best player in the world on their team, and they have another guy in Draisaitl who's right there with them. So exciting to see that get underway tonight. Sad that it will only be on TNT for those of us who have chosen to stream with a provider that does not include the Turner brand of networks. It's fine. We'll figure it out.
This is a really interesting nugget, too. And if you could say, oh, it's just the, it's the free agents and everything. No, Florida's organization. Charlotte won. Did you see that? They swept Laval. See ya, Laval. So you have a franchise who has a team in the Stanley Cup final and the Calder Cup final. I could say, take a guess, the last time you think this would happen, you're never going to get it. So I'm just going to say, Mike Danger or anybody else there, when was the last time you would think this would have happened?
The last time you had a Stanley Cup and Calder Cup champion?
Team in the final.
Oh, a team in the final.
Oh, I'm sorry. One. My apologies. Patrick Williams, last time an organization won in both years.
Won the Calder Cup and Stanley Cup in both years. I mean, Syracuse feels like the Crunch and the Lightning feel like the obvious choice, but that's not gonna be the one. You're saying I'm never gonna get it, so I don't know.
The year is 1995. It's the Devils and the Albany River Rats.
Oh, wow.
And if you're looking for a team that just reached the final, we just talked about it. The 08 Penguins and Wilkes-Barre Scranton also made the final. So,
yeah, you're teams that are set up and you got great talent and you run well and your cupboard is stocked with young prospects and guys that are developing and they're going to be great NHL stars. I mean, that was Tampa. That was their recipe for success, and it's currently the Panthers' recipe for success. They're such good players, man. You go down the roster, it's like, I would take that guy. I would take that. I would take Sam Bennett. I would take that guy. You just want some of that talent on your roster. But we have taxes, and we don't have palm trees.
Our buddy Greg writing in, I don't want to lose McDermott Malais either. Thank you, Greg.
Yeah.
We're going to protect that as long as we can here.
Wait, the first time Derek Boyko hears us do McDermott McLeise. Oh, yeah, because I'm sure there's somebody listening who's a hero who somehow has a relationship with Boyko. I'll be like, hey, I just wanted you to know they're saying this about you. Hey, I want you to know. Hey, I wanted you to know, guys, the worst person on the planet.
Time out, Danger. It wasn't the head of Bill's PR, but I got to point her finger to the face over something we said on the show. Gosh, I don't even remember what it was, but something about Pegula.
Yeah.
So that pettiness does exist.
From somebody in media.
In media. Saying,
whoa. Okay. I thought we were all covering this team objectively. I guess not.
Sorry. Thanks for listening. I'll let Danger know. I don't throw you under the bus. I don't do that, yeah.
I don't know that I play by the same rules as most of. I don't even know that I consider myself part of Bill's media.
You just float in and out. Well, for 3 weeks, we're kind of alongside them, and it's kind of like, I'm kind of glad I'm not in that
for
world
them.
yet.
Yeah, for them, it's their livelihood. For us, we're just doing a show, man. We're just doing a radio show. We're not there at every. You're there at the games, at the home games. You're there at the press conferences. You're gathering and absorbing as much as you possibly can at the stadium. I'm a radio guy. I love doing this. I love talking about it. But if somebody's going to take it that seriously with me, I mean, I wish they would. I wish they would. Yeah. But I don't know that I play by the same rules that they do. So maybe I take liberties and say some things I maybe shouldn't say, but we're also not in the blast zone. If we were in the blast zone, it'd be a different story.
We would be.
We'd have more fingers.
Into...
more fingers getting wagged in our faces. You can't say that. How dare you question the integrity of the head coach of the Buffalo Bills? I'm not questioning his integrity. I'm just saying he lies. He's not telling the truth. I get it. I get why he has to do it. Doesn't mean it's not funny. Oh, yeah, when Steph Diggs comes back week 5. Let's go ahead and circle that one. That's going to be a fun McDermott McLies.
When the Saints come to Buffalo week 4.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, Spencer Rattler.
Yeah,
whoever.
Spencer Rattler.
Oh, wow.
Oh, Tyler Shuck. We like what we've seen on film of him. He's a good young quarterback. Lots of promise there. Okay, Coach. Anything else?
Justin Fields in week 2.
Oh. Yeah, we've seen a lot of Justin Fields over the years, and we like what we've seen on tape. And we know he's very mobile, and he can make plays with both his legs and his arm. Yeah, okay.
I'm going to make a not-so-bold prediction. Ready? It's mini camp for the Bills next week. It is 2 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. You mean to tell me that Aaron Rodgers is going to break up his vacation or whatever just to show up for 3 days and gather his playbook? Hell no. Our bet is at least going to be table danger until late July.
It's funny because I'll hear a report here or a report there from somebody who will say, oh, no, he's going to sign before minicamp. Or, oh, no, he's going to sign. Like, does he have a deadline? Has anybody with the Steelers gone to Rodgers and said, hey, we get it, but we need to know by X date? I don't think anybody has.
Well, the closest thing, when you hold up the I have personal issues card, it's kind of difficult to get around. If he's saying he's on record, there's people that are close to me that are sick. Okay, well, feel bad for you in that regard.
Can't really talk to the guy who's being there for somebody battling cancer.
But can you give us some clarity here? Because as a team, we have to know here. So I don't think they gave him a deadline. I think they were naive enough to say, you know what? We trust you. You go do you. Okay, summertime. Woo. He doesn't want to be in camp.
No.
Here's a news flash. I sound like Musburger.
Here's a memo.
The majority of these players, if not all, hate training camp. They hate these off-season programs. They don't want to be doing this.
Well, what we do, what everybody does, what work is work. It's still work. You still have a boss. You still have somebody you have to report to. And who loves their boss? Who loves going to work every day? That you do it, and we're privileged to do what we do, right? Like we have pressure in our lives, and when you flip it on its side, you could say, you know what? I'm privileged to have that pressure, that pressure to grow, to be better, to work harder, to provide. They have the same thoughts about work. It's just sports. It's different. It's working out in the gym. It's working in the heat. It's sitting in the ice bath after practice. It's whatever. Let's
put it this way. Like if Danger, if you and I had the motive or the opportunity, the management said, hey, you know what, Danger? Tomorrow you go over to Europe. Gene, you go to Cape Cod, leave, and then just come back the day of training camp. I'm sorry. I like being here every day, 3 to 6.
She would say, all right, we'll see. We'll see you at the end of July.
But, hey.
So Rodgers, if you didn't have a deadline, you would take that. I think that's what Rodgers is doing for sure. Until they say to him, we need you here by, if maybe they have, maybe they just said, we need you here by camp. Can we get you here for training camp? Will that be enough time? I don't know that it is. You've got an arrogant offensive coordinator in Arthur Smith and a head coach who believes that, to his credit, masks dysfunction better than any head coach in the NFL. But the arrogance of the Pittsburgh Steelers, if it is, hey, show up at training camp and we'll be good, I don't think that's enough. I think they're going to have a losing season if that's the plan. If the plan is Rodgers shows up at training camp and we'll be good, the Steelers will have their first losing season under Mike Tomlin.
We're all in Western Europe going to be hungry for the Bills when they're coming to Fisher and everything else, but like the rest of the nation, when this is going on, that third week in July, la, 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 nobody wants to hear it. I don't think Steeler fans want to hear it. Who did we have on last week? I brought it up. Oh,
Chris Mack.
Yeah. Chris Mack brought it up. Brought it up to Bill Ryder on Monday. He's like, all right, guess we got to talk about it.
Wants to hear it. Let's shift gears and focus in on the Stanley Cup Final. It gets underway tonight, Game 1 in Edmonton. We go north of the border next. Dennis Bernstein covering the NHL better than anybody. The fourth period. He is fantastic, and he joins us next to talk the Stanley Cup Final. Give us a preview. Oh, we'll also ask him what he can tell us about Jarmo Kekalainen, this move here that the Buffalo Sabres made in the past week as well. Dennis Bernstein, our buddy, next on The Fan.
update.
It begins tonight, the NHL Stanley Cup Final. Oilers and Panthers. Connor McDavid looking for his first championship.
You feel closer. There's a big circus. It can feel like it's larger than it is. At the end of the day, it's another series, and we're playing another great team, and you got to beat them before anything else happens. So they have our complete focus. All of our energy is in going into beating the Florida Panthers. There should be nothing else on anyone's mind.
We will learn more. Dennis Bernstein, the fourth period. Dennis joins us live from Edmonton coming up next year in the Sports Bar. The Red Wings gave up 7 runs in the bottom of the first. They could not recover. They lose in Central Mass today, 9-1 to Worcester. Yankees tonight hosting the Guardians. Mets again in Los Angeles against the Dodgers. The Rockies today ended up sweeping the Marlins. Gene Battaglia in the sports leader, the Fan, Rochester.
They've raised the bar on Rochester Sports Talk. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
You know you're not going to stop him, right? It's just trying to limit how many opportunities he gets. Obviously, when you get to watch a player like that up close and see the little things that he does that make him so special, it was incredible. Obviously, he's gifted and talented, but to see his work ethic and how hard he competes and his determination, he's the best player in the world for a reason. And every team in this league has tried to contain that guy. You're not going to do it, right? It's just you try to work as hard as you can to try to limit how many opportunities he gets, so hopefully you can keep it to 10 or 15 instead of 20 or 30.
Panthers forward Brad Marchand on the greatest player in the NHL. That's Connor McDavid. As Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final gets underway tonight in Edmonton, we go to Dennis Bernstein covering the NHL better than anyone at the fourth period and joining us now in the Sports Bar. So it's a rematch, Dennis, and it's a little bit different this year with Edmonton having home ice. I want to get your take on how much of a difference that may make, and also knowing that Zach Hyman, one of their better players, won't be available to them this series. Welcome back into the Sports Bar, bud.
Always great being on air in Worcester, New York. I think the Zach Hyman absence is more impactful than the home ice advantage, because if you look at the Panthers, I think they're 9-3 on the road. They've played better on the road than at home. They've lost 3. They lost the clincher against Tampa. They lost a clincher against Carolina. So the Zach Hyman injury is impactful, but the way their depth has performed, the Oilers, in these playoffs, it's less impactful than, let's say, last season. They were more top-heavy team. I think they're all 3.5 lines. So I think Zach missing. And the strange thing about Zach, and also I'll credit Brad Marchand too here, Zach was a 52-goal scorer last year, or 2 years ago. And what did he do this season in the playoffs before he got hurt? He led the playoffs in hits.
Yeah.
So he adapted his game to winning games. Like, that's all he cares about. Same thing with Marchand. Marchand's a Hall of Famer, right? He gets traded to Florida. He could have easily told Paul Maurice, no, I want to play with Barkov and Reinhart. But what did he do? Oh, you want me on the third line? Lucic and Lundell? I'll take it. And they've been a better, deeper team. So I think the one biggest difference is both teams are better than they were last season in the 7-game matchup.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you that, Dennis. You've been saying this all along, because I look back last year, and maybe it's the fact that it just got to 7, but we all kind of nodded our head, like, yeah, that was entertaining, and yeah, like, sign me up again. Yeah. But just the fact that this actually might be better this year than last year.
Yeah, better, deeper teams. Stuart Skinner arose from the dead. February, May. I covered the LA series, right? I'm in LA. After 2 games, he was done. Jonathan Pickett was 6-0 in the playoff and got hurt, and still came back in net, found his way. The team's played really great defense in front of him. And I get it. You want to look at Stuart Skinner's statistics after Game 2 of the first round and say, hey, he's been way better. The team is way better. They're way better defensively. And when I looked at the top 6 guys they had on defense to start the LA series, I'm like, there's no way that these 6 guys are championship material. But here they are. They are championship material. And they're going to get Matthias Ekholm back. They played at the end of the Dallas series. So, yeah, I think these teams are deeper and better. It still may come down to Stuart Skinner versus Sergei Bobrovsky in that, though.
Yeah, I was just going to go there with you, because we've seen Skinner improve after that first 2-game stretch. But when you compare the two teams and you look at matchups that can be exploited, I mean, it still feels like the advantage between the pipes goes to Florida, with Bobrovsky being one of the best in the world.
Yeah, 2 times better. He beat Skinner in Game 7. And he's the type of guy, going back, I'm old, right? So I remember Cherry Severs on the old Bushman, Grant Fuhrer on the old Edmonton Oilers when they won championships. Their stats were never the best, right? They didn't have great save percentages of goals against. But you know what? They made the big save in a big spot. And that's the thing about Bob. Bob might have a bad game here where he might get shelled and he might score 7 goals in one game, but bounce back the next game and give up one or give a shutout. So I think the consistency of Bob and his obviously his pedigree and the fact that he won last season against this goaltender, it's not a goaltender versus goaltender matchup, you have to give the edge. And I think the biggest edge, because I think the rest of, when you compare the rest of the rosters, there's slight edges all the way around. But the biggest edge would be in net still because of Bob and the way he handled last year's final.
We're talking to Dennis Bernstein, who is in Edmonton tonight. It is going to be game 1. You've got 14 players from Florida that were on the team last year, 16 guys, from Edmonton. If you are just looking at this from kind of the betting perspective here, Dennis, is it hard to say? Like, we know if Edmonton wins this series, it's going to be Connor McDavid, the Conn Smythe winner, we think.
Yeah.
Is McDavid actually going to get it back-to-back years as a losing player if Edmonton does not win?
Well, remember, he won as a losing player in a 7-game series, and he had 42 points in last year's playoff run. He's not close to 42 points this year, so no way. Here's the thing. Bob's short odds, but I'll give, and this is going to sound crazy, on a flyer, if I was betting Conn Smythe, I'd bet Sam Bennett, of all people. The guy that knocked out Stolar, the guy that hits guys after the whistle. He got 10 goals. He's the leading goal scorer for the Florida Panthers in the playoffs. Not Barkov, not Reinhart, not Verhaeghe. Sam Bennett is. So if Sam would score, say, 4 goals in the final and they would win in 6, and they were more offensive games, like they were 5-3 games or 6-5 games, Sam get an edge there. But I think the two front runners are who they should be. Connor McDavid for the Oilers and Sergei Bobrovsky for the Florida Panthers.
You mentioned Sam Bennett, and what I love about this time of year in the NHL, in the NBA, when you get to postseason in any professional sport, inevitably you're going to have guys on teams that I call killers. They absolutely will go out there and they'll kill you. They'll absolutely. And Bennett is one of those guys. And I don't know what his future is, Dennis, but I'm curious. What is Sam Bennett getting this offseason?
And then some people saying $10 million a year. No, he's a 50-point scorer, right? He's a 25-25 guy. I think, number one, he stays in Florida. He'll find a way. He gets an extra year. 7.5, 8. Now, look at the deal that Brock Nelson just signed in Colorado. Yeah. Shorter term, 3 years. Sam will probably go term, right? But he's in that category. Right? Brock might be a better offensive player, but what Sam brings to the game with respect to intangibles and the dirty hits, and they are dirty hits, like after the whistle, I think you're looking at $7.5, $8 million for Sam Bennett because that's the going price because the salary cap's going to go up in 2 seasons to over 100. You can afford to, believe it or not, as crazy as it sounds, because remember, 3-4 years ago, you could have hit for an $8 million player in your cap. But now you can't. So I think Sam will get $7.5, $8 million on term, and I think he's more likely to stay in Florida than leave.
Kind of sort of segueing over to the Sabres here a little bit, and we love our Gallows humor where every year we're seeing an ex-Sabre hoist the cup. Last year, I mean, you had a few in Florida. Maybe you get Evan Rodriguez again. If it's Edmonton this year, the storyline with Jeff Skinner, who all these games here, more than 1,000 games in the league, and he's finally made the cup. Yeah. I'm pulling for the guy, Dennis. I'm hoping that Jeff Skinner, and if it's Skinner, I guess Evander Kane would hoist it too, but I want the streak to continue of former Buffalo Sabres hoisting a Stanley Cup.
I think if Oilers do win, I think the handoff is obviously Connor to Leon. And I think usually the third guy is a guy who's been waiting as long as Jeff Skinner's been waiting, not just to win a cup, but get in the playoffs. I think they might hand it up to Jeff Skinner third because he's been there. He's been around the league so long and has never had the opportunity to taste the playoffs. It might be him. It might be some other guy, maybe Ekholm or something like that, but it's great to see. And, I had the privilege of being on the ice, and you see guys who have fought their whole life to get to the pinnacle and finally get there. It's been such a long climb for for Skinner, and he's had a really, really good, he's had a really great career. It's been on the downside lately, but I think that would be a very poignant moment for Jeff Skinner, who's able to raise a cup, especially if it was here in Edmonton, where the fans would be going crazy.
All right, so if I'm just now in my mind, I'm painting a picture of what that looks like at the end of this series, and I'm only going to bring this up because it was brought up by Paul Maurice at the end of the Carolina series. How do you see this going between the Oilers and the Panthers when it's all said and done? Maurice, Knobloch, and Maurice basically saying, hey, look, the players do all the fighting. The players are out there. They don't need to meet every person on our staff after a long series, only to hear Brindamore afterwards kind of say, no, that was crap. The coaches should be a part of that handshake line as well.
I love Paul Maurice. Rod Brindamore's right. He's right. You work just as hard. You're part of the team. You're on the ice or behind the bench, whatever. What's the additional time for the handshakes? 5 minutes, 7 minutes? Do you think the Oilers, if they won, would care if they had to shake hands with some of the personnel from the Panthers for another 5 or 7 minutes? It's tradition. It's what makes this great game so great, guys. It's tradition. So I think Paul was out of bounds doing it and saying, no, this is about the players. And it was a conference final. It wasn't a Stanley Cup final. It's the Stanley Cup final. It's tradition. Now Paul Maurice is going to be the guy to unhinge this great tradition that we have. No, I think it'll be business as usual when it comes to handshakes at the end of the game, 4 or 5, 6 or 7 or whatever it is.
Yeah, Dennis Bernstein is up in Edmonton tonight, Game 1, Oilers and Panthers, and this has been a story. I want to say, Dennis, you could correct me if I'm wrong, this came more from the Canadian media, and all of a sudden it snowballs like, hey, it's the 6th straight year we have a team from Florida. This isn't fair. And our position on our show is, well, you acknowledge that certainly there are some, there are some advantages, but explain why some of these other teams don't get the same thing done here. Like, your thoughts on that, Dennis? And I guess it's also noteworthy seeing that we got to go back to 1993, last time we had a Canadian team win the Cup.
Okay, so with respect to the Florida teams and state taxes, okay, first of all, I've talked to a lot of players who have never told me once, ever, oh, yeah, the final decision I was making, state taxes were what tipped it over. That's why I signed in Florida. Never happened. And let's be real about something, okay? And I really despise it. I want to say, hey, when people say, oh, it's some big advantage. Bill Zito traded for Kachuk, and he traded a 115-point player, Udo, for him, and Mackenzie Weegar, who's a top-pair defenseman. He traded for Kachuk. He traded for Reinhart. Traded for Sam Bennett, right? He signed Carter Verhaeghe out of Tampa for $1 million per year for 2 years. He traded for Seth Jones on retained salary. He traded for Brad Marchand. Where's the state taxes in any of those signings, right? He claimed Gustav Forsling on waivers. Like, this is BS. And before that, the Tampa Bay Lightning. Let me give you the poignant moment for me with respect to how they built that team. Way back in the day, they traded Kyle Quincy, and most of the listeners wouldn't even know Kyle Quincy if he hit him in the head, right? For the 19th overall pick, I think in 2012, and they picked Andrei Vasilevsky, okay? They drafted Stamkos. They drafted Hedman. They drafted Kucherov in the second round. They drafted Cirelli in the second round. They drafted Point in the third round. Where do state taxes fit in that, guys? It's a BS narrative that I don't know why it's a problem, because these teams were built so smart. You know what to do? Don't worry about state taxes. Worry about getting a really smart GM. And one of the smartest GMs, guys, I'll close with this point, is Jim Nill, Dallas. Brilliant. 2-time GM back-to-back. The last time, and there's no state tax in Texas. The last time they won the Stanley Cup, 1999.
Oh,
so
we know. We know. All right. So to that, and you're right, Dennis. I mean, like, look, you could look at the history of the NHL, and well-run teams with talented players find themselves in the postseason year in, year out, find themselves in the finals year in, year out. You mentioned 99. We're familiar. Let's talk for a second about the Buffalo Sabres, because we love having you on to kind of set us straight. When they announced Jarmo Kekalainen is the senior advisor to GM Kevin Adams on Friday, our first thing was like, why are they announcing this on a Friday? Are they trying to bury this story? Because by all accounts and from everybody that we've heard, it seems like this is a really, really good move for the Buffalo Sabres.
First things first, I did say a no-brainer for Sabres fans last night before I went to sleep, like I always do. Now, Do you think Kevin Adams is looking over his shoulder, boys?
Yeah,
Yes.
Probably. This is when's the last time they hired an experienced GM? Like Muckler? It's going way back. It was a lot of first-time GMs.
Yeah.
But yes, the small. Hey, look, Keck's resume in Columbus, bad, mixed bag. But he was a GM. It's a smart move. It's the right move. We had it here in Los Angeles with Mark Bergevin, who was up for a couple of jobs, didn't get him. But it's the right move. You need another experienced guy because Kevin hasn't delivered. He hasn't. So, look, now there's a GM winning. Now, the Goulet family could decide, okay, if they fall on their face again this coming season, would you turn to Keck? He's already in there. He's getting familiar with the team. Like he knows all the GMs around the league. Yes, a smart move. More teams are going to start doing that, especially if they want to bring in like a new breed of GMs who are younger and haven't had a first-time shot, or it's their first-time shot as a GM. So I think it's a smart move. We'll see how it pays off in the regular season and here in the off season as well.
Yeah, Dennis, I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm hoping that your answer would be this isn't even on our radar, but it is something locally when it comes to the arena, and the county doesn't want it. They're handing it over to the city doesn't want it. It would give the Sabres an opportunity here. You're not hearing anything like this, on a national level about the Sabres and the arena issue, are you?
No. What, like leaving? No. The Buffalo Sabres, no. And first of all, you had to have three-quarters of the owners vote on a move? No. I haven't heard anything like that at all, and I would be surprised if it was because, I know the Pagulas get shots here, but they also run the Bills, and the Bills, last time I checked, are a pretty well-run organization. So I haven't heard anything like that, but if I do, I'll come back on the show and talk about it.
Dennis, one of the things that the Sabres need, we say this every year when we talk about what is it going to take to break the playoff drought. Well, they need teams in the East to kind of fall off a little bit. One of those teams that fell off a little bit this year and missed the postseason, fired their coach and hired a new coach today. Mm-hmm. What can you tell us about the Penguins and their hiring of Dan Muse, former Rangers assistant?
A lot of people said, who's Dan Muse? That's what a lot of people said. He was it's funny. My partner, Dave Pioneer, the period said, look, it was close to Mitch Love, DJ Smith from LA, who's the assistant coach there, and there was a mystery candidate. Dan Muse was a mystery candidate. His resume is okay. I'm not sure he fits right now. Like if you were a hire coach like the first-time coach, aren't you saying that it's basically going to be a rebuild, a younger team, and they still have Sid, and they still have Gino, and they still have Tanger? So, yes, a bit of a surprise. I would think a more experienced coach, but Kyle Dubas is going to Kyle Dubas. It's what he does. He does stuff outside the box. There's some familiarity there, but it was a surprise to me. I think surprise to a bunch of people because there were really qualified candidates out there who had bigger names and had more of a resume. They like this guy. Maybe he'd be fine lightning a bottle, but the first-time assistants, other than Chris Novak, the first-time coach plug in here, but he had Connor Lee. It's a little bit of a head-scratcher. Maybe it's a signal to Sid Crosby saying, hey, look, we're going to be going in a direction where the team isn't going to be competitive, and we have to rebuild. And maybe some of your mates, some of your old boys might be traded away. So maybe down the road, maybe they say to Sid, look, the team's gone, regressed here. It's going to be a little bit wild. Would you consider going somewhere else?
Last one for me, Dennis. Mitch Marner. I mean, we're a few weeks away, but what's the market for him? Where do you think he ends up?
He could wind up in probably 10 different places. I think the LA Kings are going to go after him. I think there's some guys on the team like Drew Doughty or Andre Kopitar who want less bite at the apple here because their time's running out on them. Maybe you want to do that. I think maybe a team like Carolina, although they have a small team and put Marner on the team, another small guy because they already have Stankoven and Jarvis. I'm not sure that makes too much sense. So I think the Islanders are in play. So I think there'll be a bunch of teams lining up here. I think that Vegas is definitely a possibility. And there's some rumors about trading Nick Hague. You can move out a guy like William Carson, who's making close to $6 million. I wouldn't be shocked because Vegas, they like the nice, bright, shiny tool in the free agents market every summer. So maybe they chase him as well. So that could be a possibility. And it wouldn't allow Dallas to really have to make a lot of moves. And maybe they trade Jason Robertson because there's rumors about that. Maybe plug him there. So he'll get his $13 or $14 million. He'll sign a long-term deal for 7 years. What I don't think happens, I don't see him returning to Toronto. I just think he's had it with that market. They haven't been able to succeed. And I just think the pressure of working in that market, he's got a wife and a young kid. I think his time has come and gone in Toronto. So I think his destination will be somewhere else when we get to July 1st, 2nd, 3rd, or 5th.
Dennis, we haven't talked to you since that series ended. And it felt for a second there like Toronto up 2-0 on the defending champs could actually advance farther than they've advanced. And they continue to do Toronto things. Is it as simple as what we were talking about before, the fact that, some of these teams have killers and Toronto doesn't have that killer on their roster? I mean, for as great a goal scorer as a guy like Matthews is, he sure seems to disappear when the moment gets big.
Yeah, well, Austin was banged up a lot, right? So I think where they missed their opportunity was when they made the trade. This is an awesome trade, but they traded for Scott Lawton and they put him on the third line. They thought he would be an effective player in the playoffs. Their bottom six got run over. Like, that's why. And so, yeah, Austin wasn't at his best, and Mitch still got his points. And Neiman did okay, but again, it's defending champions. Remember, they went down 2-0 and went in overtime in Game 3. They would have been done, guys. They would have been done. But what do they have? They have winning talent. Wins. I get it. I understand it. You got to have winning players. And what do the Panthers have? They have winning players because they got to do what's necessary to win games. And that's the difference between Florida and Toronto. When it's winning time, they find ways to win. Toronto finds ways to lose. It's simple as that. So do you change the whole roster up and down and trade Austin Matthews? No, but you have to find the supplementary players, the complementary players that can win you games in the playoffs. This group of complementary players for the Maple Leafs didn't do it. And look, it's no mistake. 3 years in order to the Cup final for the Panthers, they have winning players.
So, Dennis, if this goes to 7, that's 20 days from today. Are you on the road 20 straight days, or are you going to try to sneak up? I was going to throw something at you because I'm thinking, how do you get from Edmonton to Florida? And probably there's ways like Chicago. I'm thinking maybe you fly to Pearson. In Rochester, we have direct flights, South Florida. Dennis, if you find yourself with an extra day here, bud, just take the, drive down around the way.
Here's my chart. I usually go home to LA between series, but between 2 and 3, my wife's actually in Seattle. She says, I'm not going to be home. There's somebody to watch the dogs and babysit the house. So I'm going to go straight to, and yes, through Chicago. Now, here's the one kicker. Between 4 and 5, there's usually 2 days, but because they don't want to conflict with the NBA, there's only 1 day of travel between South Florida and Edmonton. So you got to go back to Edmonton, and Game 5 is on my anniversary. So how great is my wife that lets me go to Game 5? So I got to fly home the next day. So I'll be home. I'll be on the road for 2 weeks. So I'll be going home after Game 5 because there's 2 days between Games 5 and 6. But yeah, 2 bags of luggage this time around, boys. I didn't get to break that. I usually get to go home after 2. So it's going to be an arduous trip, and the weather's a little different in Edmonton than in South Florida. So it's going to be there, but I'm looking forward to it because, like I said at the top, I think this has the possibility of even being better than last year's Cup final.
We say it all the time. Marriage is continuous negotiation, Dennis, and you're obviously very good at negotiating to get to stay on the road for these games. All right, let's get your prediction for this series. You say it's going to be better than last year. I have a hard time seeing how that series, because it was a great series last year. Are we seeing more length to these games? Are we getting more overtime games? Is it that tight, that margin of error that thin? And how do you see the series overall playing out? What's your prediction?
I think it's 7 games. I think why it's going to be better, because remember, there wasn't a lot of drama in that. It was 3-0 Panthers. So there really wasn't drama in Game 4. There was almost a consolation prize. And the way that the Panthers found a way to win Game 5. They always found a way to win Game 5. So I don't think it's going to roll like that. I think it's going to be probably a split here. Go back to Florida 1-1. That'd be great. Absolutely. So I think that's it. So I think it'll be a closer series throughout. It was a miracle run. And if some team goes down 3-0 in this series, you're not getting off the deck and winning 3 in a row. Like, it's not going to happen. So I think I'll make the Oilers more prepared. So I like the Oilers in 7 here. But if you pick the Panthers in 7, want to debate it? Absolutely not, because there's not much separating this. Hey, we might go to overtime in the Game 7 here at Rogers Place. That would be amazing. But I think that the series itself will be closer and more drama, because I don't think there'll be that separation like we had last season.
Dennis, people who want more of the fourth period, tell everybody about the work where they can follow you.
Yeah, fourthperiod.com. My X account is Dennis TFP. We'll also be doing the pregame show for SiriusXM before every game from 7 o'clock Eastern, so you can tune to Channel 91. And you know what? I'm a pretty conspicuous guy. I'm not hard to find if you want to find me.
You're the best, Dennis. Appreciate you spending some time with us here in the Sports Bar.
Always great being in Rochester, boys. Thanks for the time. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
thanks,
Dennis Bernstein. Check out the fourth period. If you're a hockey fan, you want to get a primer on what's going on around the NHL, and certainly the Stanley Cup final between Edmonton and Florida getting it away tonight.
He said something and wow, this did hit home. Kevin Adams, no experience. Jason Bottrell, no experience as a GM. Tim Murray, no experience. Darcy Regier was here forever. No experience as a GM. You have to go back to John Muckler in 1993, the last time the Sabres. And that was how many owners ago? 2 owners ago.
That's a check in the column of sell the team people, right? Like that's Terry Pagula being cheap. You can hire a GM, but it's going to cost you if you want to hire a GM.
Unless they're doing this, Kevin, we like you, but now you've got somebody over your shoulder.
Right. And as a senior advisor, is his role really just to learn the job that Kevin Adams is doing and the systems that are in place so that he can take over sooner rather than later and Kevin can transition into another role within the organization?
He's got a running start.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out for the Buffalo Sabres. That hire is not a nothing. That, the Stahl hire to me was a nothing. Like, okay, you hired your buddy. Good for you.
Oh, your buddy who's cheering on his former team. And like, that's...
Yeah. But this one, it's like, okay, that guy, I mean, you're going to hire that guy. Why not just fire Kevin Adams? They're not going to do that. They could have just fired Kevin Adams and said, we got a new GM. Here he is. He's a senior advisor. Well, yeah, Kevin Adams is going to be looking over his shoulder an awful lot with the role that he's in right now, knowing that there's a guy there with the kind of experience that Kekalainen has. Love Dennis joining us in the sports bar. Talk some NHL, talk some Stanley Cup final. It all gets underway tonight north of the border. We're going to take a break and come back with happy hour next in the sports bar. Lot of fallout still. Just over 24 hours after finding out that Tom Thibodeau was fired by the New York Knicks. Lots of different reactions to sort through. Lots of different theories. We'll talk a little bit about that. And we'll talk more about tonight's Game 1. This is going to be a fun series. A round of shots coming up. And last call as well. You can join us and have the final word in the sports bar.
Oh, if you like hockey, too, there's a report Mitch Marner. He might end up on a team you would never, ever expect. It's not the Sabres, by the way.
No.
Yeah.
You notice how Dennis didn't even come close to sniffing. It was all like teams that are playoff teams.
Yeah.
Teams that are good, that want to get better.
And that would actually pay.
Yeah, exactly right. We'll get to that and more next. Happy hour on the way on the Fan.
WNBF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
We've entered final season. Tonight it's hockey beginning in Edmonton. The Oilers and the Panthers. Paul Maurice is the head coach of Florida.
It's going to be physical. It's going to be really fast. It's going to be really skilled. I don't think there's one component that's going to take over it other than whatever one does, and then we'll point at that to be the difference. There's just a bunch of 10 factors here.
Rochester Red Wings gave up 7 runs in the bottom of the first. They could not recover. They lose in Central Massachusetts today against Worcester 9-1, the final. The Boston Red Sox win at the bottom of the ninth against the Angels 11-9. Cedar Rafaela with a walk-off 2-run homer. The Rockies sweep the Marlins. 3-2 the final today in South Florida. Tonight the Yankees hosting the Guardians. The Mets continuing their series out in L.A. against the Dodgers. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader. The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
OTA Week 3 is wrapped up.
It's a little bit harder to evaluate what you're seeing out there because there just aren't as many opportunities for competitive situations.
Talking a lot of Knicks so far in the firing of Tom Thibodeau. Well, who will replace him? Tomorrow, the NBA Finals open up.
The Stanley Cup Final begins tonight in Edmonton. The Panthers won this matchup in 7 games last spring.
It's a real toss-up. I see it going 7 games, and I've got the Oilers, but I'm not super confident about it.
I think it's great for hockey if Connor McDavid is chasing the Stanley Cup.
Mike Danger.
But let's talk about what's important. Will Oilers girl be at game 1?
Oh, yeah, folks.
Woo, go Oilers!
That's leadership right there. Oilers in 4. Let's go.
Gene Battaglia.
We will have, one way or another, a former Buffalo Sabre hoisting the trophy. I personally want Edmonton, if nothing more, to add Skinner to that list.
95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
You know, in your update, you could have said the Rockies swept the Marlins in front of tens of fans in Miami. As we welcome you back into the sports bar. It's Danger and Battaglia. This is Happy Hour. I have a footnote to our Bill Ryder conversation from earlier this week when we had Ryder on with us and we played him the horrible take from his producer, Ryan Hickey. Hot take, Hickey. The Josh Allen should be traded to the Bears last year, that take.
Yeah, we wanted to have some fun with it, and also, like, if you have a take that's bad, we don't forget about that here, particularly in Western New York.
We have long memories.
Yeah.
Zach Gelb, who used to be with Rick Hickey, used to be his producer. In fact, Zach Gelb dubbed him Hot Take Hickey.
Gelb, a good friend of the show, by the way, but he's on right now, so that's why you really don't hear him anymore.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I was a little bit concerned because when Bill Ryder, during his show, replayed our show talking to him about the horrible take from Hot Take Hickey, it sounded like I said a guy we call affectionately Hot Take Hickey, as if we came up with the name.
We coined it, yeah.
We did not coin it. It was Zach Gelb who coined it. And Zach Gelb, upon hearing it, reached out to me on X saying, you'll be hearing from my attorneys. That's my proprietary, that's my IP. That's my intellectual property, pal. Now, I'm a company guy. I'm a team player, Gino. Today, when I had a couple of minutes, maybe your company does this too. I don't know if your company does this or not.
Oh, wait a second. You gave him Odyssey points?
I gave him Odyssey points.
Oh, my God.
I gave Gelb Odyssey points and told him to keep your attorneys off my trail. Okay, we're good. Go get that Sherpa blanket that you've been eyeing, pal. It's all yours. Oh, you want a Bluetooth speaker with the Odyssey logo on it? You're a little bit closer to it, Gelb. Here you go, pal. Enjoy your Odyssey points. Keep your attorneys off my tail.
Am I a bad employee for not knowing how many Odyssey points I have, or never actually having given out Odyssey points? I should just give you Odyssey points and Dandelion Odyssey points.
5 Odyssey points short of getting the one thing I would actually consider getting from the Odyssey shop. I'm 5 points short, Gene. Yeah, you could do me a solid. Push me over the threshold, and I'll be sporting a brand new Odyssey branded backpack. I use the same backpack every day. I love my backpack, but this is my travel backpack. Like, this is a little bit more heft. It has a little bit more size. Really, when I come to work, I just need something for my laptop, my charger, my glasses. That's about it.
Well, and when you walk into Odyssey New Orleans, wherever else you're managing, Danger, it gives you a little more cachet.
Yeah, clearly I earned this.
Yeah.
Check it out, everybody. I earned this because I keep getting these Odyssey points that have pushed me over the top. Now I can go in the Odyssey store. I can look at you saying, "Oh, what do you got there? The noise-canceling headphones? You've got the Sherpa blanket? Oh, nice Odyssey ball cap. You know what I spent my points on? A high-priced item, the Odyssey-branded backpack.
I think they had socks in there.
Odyssey socks.
Which, like, the socks are always kind of just...
Odyssey umbrella. Odyssey poncho, the Odyssey journal, all those things. Like,
see, I've never even gone in the store. I'm going to take your word for all that.
Yeah. So I hope
you could tell me there was Odyssey box 1. I might believe you.
I know Gelb isn't listening right now because he's doing what we're doing, but I hope he enjoys. I hope I got him a little bit closer to the Sherpa blanket and understand. We know you dubbed him Hot Take Hickey. I'm a fan of alliteration, so I'm going to ride Hot Take Hickey the next time he comes on the show. He's Hot Take Hickey. Ryan Hickey can be Ryan Hickey. He can be Hick at night. He'll always be Hot Take Hickey to us.
Now you can hear him 10 to noon, weekdays with Ryder.
With Bill Ryder, Ryder than you.
Yeah,
friends of the sports bar.
You know what's funny? I listen to as much sports talk as anyone. I'm taking in all these takes. I've yet to hear anybody tell me, here's what happened with the Knicks. I thought the New York City media was so good that we would have had an explanation. This was Dolan. He was fed up about this, or this was the plan all along, or whatever. I'm open to any theory about this because I feel like I'm flailing trying to explain why you made this move. But then to have PJ Glasser on with us earlier today, just to cold cock us with the McDermott analogy, I'm like, oh, my God. Where did that come from?
It's a bold move. It's a risky move. But if you're in the business of winning championships and you know this guy isn't going to win us a championship, then you make this move. And if it's as simple as that for the New York Knicks, then I'm with PJ. You have to respect that move if that's indeed the motivation behind it.
The Yankees fired Buck Showalter, and they hired Joe Torre. Clueless Joe at the time. Everybody made it was the right move, obviously. Like, there are other examples, like Kerr, you brought up.
Doug Collins and Phil Jackson is the one that sticks in my mind. Like, Doug Collins is a respected coach. He's wildly popular, and they weren't going to win it all with him. And maybe Jordan was a part of that. Maybe Jordan was saying to ownership or to anybody that would listen, this isn't enough. We need more. We need somebody who's going to push us more. I don't know if that person exists on the Knicks. I would imagine Brunson might be that kind of guy. But you also had Brunson at the end of that game saying, what are you kidding me? He was asked point blank if Thibodeau is the guy that could lead him into the future. And he's like, are you kidding me? Of course. That's not even a real question, right?
Well, and then just going back to my point I made about, okay, nobody seems to know the details. You have on the one hand Chris Russo, Mad Dog, Takesman. He's wired in. He lives in New York.
Saying it's Dolan.
Yeah. And then you have his former partner there, Francesa, saying,
who cares?
No. This was Leon Rose, and I have it on good authority that I can't do a good Francesa. Should.
Who cares?
It's absolutely Dolan. Rose can't do this on his own. At the minimum, Rose would say, I want to make this move, and Dolan would say, okay. But I'm tending to think that maybe this was Dolan danger.
I agree, and I think if there's outrage from Knicks fans because of this move, it's because Dolan has a history with Knicks fans, and
we all hate him,
and everybody hates him. Right?
We hate him.
So you can be pissed off about this move if you're viewing it through the lens of it came from Dolan.
But I'd never viewed Tibbs as, okay, this is run its course. This is we just can't get over the top with Tony Dungy. Let's go bring in Chucky. No, it doesn't seem like that to me. This was a new team, essentially, with Cat. You make the big move. you get, and you're 2 wins away. And I don't think any Knick fan said, this was coaching, basically. I think we all kind of looked at the roster and said, needs a little more fine-tuning, but it's not that it can't be done. But coaching wasn't at the top of the list for me on that.
But think about next season, and maybe this is a move that's a little bit short-sighted, but if you think about next season and you imagine that they bring back the core of this team, that there isn't any changes, like let's just assume that that's going to be the case, and they really focus on the bottom half of this roster and adding some depth to the bench. When you look at the East next year, who's good? Who actually could be representing the East next year in the NBA Finals? I'd say New York has just as good a chance with their roster as anybody. If the coach is the one thing that is the fatal flaw of this team, you hire a coach that gets you to that final, because you almost took out Indiana. Boston, you would assume, is going to be down. Cleveland was nice this year, but they got beat by Indiana. You need to beat Indiana. I mean, is Indiana the team? Yeah, Indiana right now
Indiana's
is the team.
Part of me wants to see 3.0. I don't think it happens. We're just assuming LeBron's going to say, yes, I'll take the $52 million and play with Bronny here in Los Angeles. That decision hasn't been made yet. Can you imagine if he's back on? Nobody's really talking about that. We passed LeBron because LeBron as a player at this point, he's more of a role player, but he'd be a driving force for any team.
I think we just need to appreciate him more. I wonder if that's part of why they made this move. That there is a window for the Knicks to be into the NBA Finals, and that window is next season, because who knows what Boston looks like with a healthy Tatum, or what they even do with Tatum, right? Like there's going to be more changes, but right now, going into next year, the Knicks are as good as any team in the East and could find themselves in the NBA Finals with just a little bit more, and maybe that little bit more comes from the person who's actually coaching the team.
Well, if we get to... what would be a fair timeline here? 2 weeks from today. So it's after Father's Day, and the Knicks don't have any answer. I'm going to be a little concerned.
Well, that's the thing too.
Also you don't make this move unless you already have the next guy lined up.
You have a plan.
Yeah,
you have to have a plan, and you've probably had a plan for a while, because for one reason or the other, Tibbs was rubbing you the wrong way, whether it was Dolan, whether it was the GM, whatever the case was. If you have a plan, if you have somebody in mind, then you make your move and bring that person in, and it doesn't take you 2 weeks. You know, and we should know soon who the next coach of the New York Knicks is going to be. The favorite right now, Mike Malone.
I have the odds here. You want me to run them down?
Sure.
Okay, so Mike Malone, and again, disclaimer, you can't bet on this in New York State. Boo-hoo. But honestly, you're guessing at this point. Vegas knows. Mike Malone, plus 125. Johnny Bryant at plus 400. He's getting a lot around the Cavs assistant. And maybe they've identified him. Maybe Leon Rose knows, okay, this isn't the next guy that's going to be a star. You're going to have to take that blind faith. Okay, the next two, I'm like, no. Jay Wright, plus 1,500. Mike Budenholzer, plus 1,500.
That's the guy you want. You want Budenholzer.
You brought up this.
Yeah.
Rick Brunson, plus 1,500. What if Dad takes over?
Sure.
That'd be fun. Monty Williams, plus 2,000. No. Taylor Jenkins, no. Now we're getting silly with these next three. John Calipari, plus 2,000. Dan Hurley, plus 2,000. I would love that. Jeff Van Gundy, plus 2,500.
Where's Rick Pitino on the list? Why not? Let's just throw them all on the list. Boy, there's a lot of names there. Some I'd be more excited about than others. And look, if it is an assistant from Cleveland, you're kind of going off of blind faith. Like, okay, well, let's see. Maybe there is something there that we don't know. Or Dad takes over and becomes your head coach moving forward, and it's the Brunson family tree running the New York Knicks on the court. Can Dad get Jalen to defend a little bit? I know he doesn't have the size, but can he defend a little bit? That's going to be an interesting story to watch here. Oh, by the way, Game 1, OKC and Indiana tomorrow. And in the sports bar, we'll get you ready for it with one of our favorites. It's been way too long since the host of the Heat Check has been on with us. Trista Crick stops by the sports bar tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, and looking forward to that. Bills OTA is continuing today. I can't tell you an update because the media wasn't there, Danger. There's some days where you're working out in the spring, and that's just fine. So we're kind of left in the dark. Was Josh Allen there? Was he not? It's next week that's going to feel like football season when we're really going to kind of dive into some of these position battles, what we could tell you about who's starting, and what the ones or the twos. And certainly the James Cook storyline is going to overshadow everything else next week.
Mm-hmm. Does he or does he not show up?
Well, okay, so is the hold-in a good or a bad option? Like, where do we come down on this? Because that's like the third option. We saw T.J. Watt do this where, hey, I'm going to be here, but I'm not going to participate.
Yeah, the thing that makes me nervous about not getting the reps, being there but not being on the field, is the risk of injury. It's a soft tissue.
Soft tissue, yeah.
It's the pulled hamstring. And if you're James Cook, yeah, you're making a statement, but you're putting yourself and your body a little bit more at risk at the start of the season, and it's a season that you need to repeat your success from last year. You need to have at least those numbers to get the kind of money that you're looking to get next season.
I think if you had both sides, Cook and Brandon Beane, just come out next week and say, you know what, James has opted. We're done talking. Would anybody be upset about that? Mm-mm. And for the Bills too, to try to get him back. And I don't think listen, we won't use the franchise tag. That's also a threat that the Bills could ultimately say, yeah, you're not going to go anywhere. I think that would be actually good business for the Buffalo Bills, knowing that this is how they treat their players. If you want to be here, great, we're going to figure this out. But if not, we're not going to hold you against your will.
I think the best thing would be not to discuss it at all. Like, you completely don't talk about it. I mean, it'll get brought up. Somebody will ask the question, but we're not talking about negotiations through the media. We're not talking about any of this in public. James is under contract. And we're done. We're on to the season. We're playing games that matter right now. We're not going to have this be a distraction and then deal with it as you need to deal with it through the course of the season if you continue to try and negotiate an extension, or if you've made up your mind already, we're just not going to pay that guy what he wants because we don't value that position the way other teams might value it.
Watching some James Cook highlights recently, he's got speed.
He's fast.
He's fast. He's turned the corner against Miami. He's out racing the Lions. He was the reason the Bills had a chance against the Chiefs. Legitimately. He did everything except be on the field in that final drive.
He was good.
Yeah.
He's one of the best players on the field. Taylor Rapp on these practices happening at Buffalo Bills OTAs.
You know, it's an exciting time of the year, first time out in the grass, practicing against the offense and stuff. So just high energy, just this time of the year is about building the culture, building the team, hitting our fundamentals, hitting our scheme and stuff, and, just working in the details. So it's been a good time.
A little dress rehearsal for when they practice with a little bit more intensity come later in the summer at St. John Fisher.
Yeah. And then we should probably at some point get, I would think, the Fisher camp schedule next week, but I don't think we expect any curveballs.
I don't think so either. I think who had their was it the Steelers, I think, that had their first practice documented as like July 24th or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that was shared because, well, if there's a team that needs a deadline to move forward, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers.
What is the incentive for Aaron Rodgers to get off the couch or where his beach or whatever the hell he's doing right now, and to show up for 3 days next week for their mandatory minicamp? There is no incentive. None.
You mean to tell me the players don't like going to minicamps in the middle of summer?
Well,
they don't like to work when they have the opportunity to do other things?
Here's what I kind of learned. 2020, by necessity, the mother of invention, right? We didn't need training. You didn't need extensive training camp. You didn't need the preseason. Like the next CBA, okay, you want 18 games? Give me all spring off. Like where we weed all this up as Bills fans, followers. Yeah, tell me more about these players. What's the point, Danger? What is the point?
What are we learning?
Yeah.
About this team or this roster during OTAs? I mean, I guess from a physical standpoint, you could see, Keon Coleman got a little bit bigger. Everybody's in the best shape of their life.
Well, I'm saying, like, could you, if you are really concerned about quality of football, would it go down if you didn't do all this stuff? I believe the answer is no. Some guys might need it because who knows what they're doing in the offseason. But for the majority of them, I don't. I think that we'll get to a point where you're not doing half of this stuff.
Oh, man, that next negotiation, I know we're still a ways away, but that's going to be an interesting one. How about the European travel schedule? How about, is there a division in Europe? Is there obviously an extra game tacked on, an 18th game tacked on? What does it all look like?
To me, like the union would have a big leg to stand on if they just said, okay, contracts guaranteed, period, end of story. Other sports get it. Why are we the only one that don't? Well, because they're so short-lived. You can't get a consensus with the NFLPA. But the thing that's going to change, Danger, is that a lot of these players are going to get paid more money in college. They already are.
Yeah.
And when they come into the NFL, like, wait, I'm going to be taking a pay cut here?
They released, speaking of college, I don't know why I just thought of Madden again, but they released a trailer for Madden.
I saw that. How could this get any better? It looks like legitimately it's going to look like you're watching a game. It doesn't look like a video game. At some point, you're like, was that a video game or is that Madden I'm playing here? It's pretty close.
Although it's still the same game. Like, it's still...
You have to, right?
Yeah, it's still the game that you've played pretty much your entire life.
I did see this, though. There is one Easter egg because who's on the cover photo?
Take one.
Yeah. At some point, name me landmarks in Philadelphia. Well, you got the Rocky Steps. You've got the
Liberty Bell. Yeah.
You've got Geno's Steaks.
Uh-huh.
Ever been there?
Sure. Never. No.
No, I've been there. Okay, like Cheese Whiz, whatever. You did it. It was fine.
I think the Knicks would be where I would go for a roast pork. Roast pork, broccoli raw.
Yeah, it's Pat's and Geno's are like kitty corner to one another.
Yeah.
What? But you picture Geno's Steaks and you see the Neil. No, they redid it. Steakwan's Steaks.
Steakwan Barkley.
Steakwan Sharkley.
Steakwan Sharkley.
Steakwan.
Oh, it's good. Barkley today making a little bit of noise with one of his comments. I'm not going to give credit to who was interviewing because I forget. But basically saying, hey, when I retire, it's going to be abrupt. I could see me walking away the way Barry Sanders did. Well, what? 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 You're not already thinking about retirement, are you, Shark One? You got a Super Bowl, and now you're talking about how you want to exit the game?
Well, you got paid your second contract. You won a Super Bowl. The question is, does he want to be a Hall of Famer? I don't think the resume is quite good enough yet, Danger. Get another Super Bowl. All right, now we're talking.
He's a pretty good player.
Oh, he's excellent.
Got to stay healthy. Got to stay healthy. Those first few years in New York with the injuries and the slow starts. But when he's healthy, you're one of the best. Sharkwan Sharkley. Steakwan Barkley. Let's get to a round of shots next on The Fan.
Who's the team that might be involved in Mitch Marner? There is a team that we wouldn't certainly be talking about. We'll tell you a report on this. College landscape here changing. We've got a conclusion to that lawsuit concerning the ACC and a couple of schools. We're disgusted with the Miami Marlins. Danger.
Just absolutely disgusted. What are they doing in front of tens of fans?
And because it's fast food, you love it. It's delicious. Pablo Torre dropping another knockout. Dropping it right on the head of Bill Simmons.
Yeah.
And Simmons had to sit there and do nothing.
Yeah.
Everybody is saying, wow, Torre won this one against Simmons. And there's a reason.
Yep.
Do you protect a friend?
Uh-huh.
Or are you going to, ask the question? Simmons decided,
what about your journalistic integrity?
Come on, Simmons, you used to be that guy. Now you're the old fart.
All right, we'll get to that. I can't wait. We got a round of shots coming up. And last call is for you. You can have the final word in the sports bar when you pick up the phone and call us at 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326.
And AM 950 The Fan Rochester, weekday mornings via the Odyssey app. And make getting out of bed your favorite part of the day. The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
NHL Stanley Cup Final beginning tonight. The Oilers hosting the Panthers. Connor McDavid looking for his first championship.
You feel closer. There's a big circus. It can feel like it's larger than it is. At the end of the day, it's another series, and we're playing another great team, and you got to beat them before anything else happens. So they have our complete focus. All of our energy is in going into beating the Florida Panthers. There should be nothing else on anyone's mind.
Not a good day for the Rochester Red Wings. They gave up 7 runs in the bottom of the first. They could not recover. They lose in Central Massachusetts today against Worcester 9-1. The Boston Red Sox, they won in the bottom of the 9th over the Angels 11-9. Cedar Rafaela with a walk-off 2-run homer. The Yankees looking to make it 2 in a row tonight against the Guardians. The Mets playing Game 3 of a 4-game series in L.A. against the Dodgers. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, the Fan Rochester.
The only way to take the Fan Rochester with you is the free Odyssey app. Download it today and follow the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
All right, you're back in the sports bar. Danger and Battaglia, glad you're with us. Thanks for listening and making us part of your afternoon routine at 95.7 FM, AM 950, the free-to-download Odyssey app. We appreciate everybody watching on our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester as well. Like and subscribe while you're there. It is time for a round of shots.
As we look ahead to next hockey season, Danger, the biggest prize on the free agent market, that's Toronto's Mitch Marner. Elliot Freeman is predicting a surprise team is going to throw a ton of money at Marner. No, it's not the Buffalo Sabres. It's the Utah Mammoth.
Oh.
Quote, teams believe that Utah is determined to introduce themselves to the NHL in a big way.
I got to get used to the Utah Mammoth. That's the first time I've heard anybody call them the Mammoth. I'm still in Utah Hockey Club mode. Utah Mammoth. I like the logo. I like the look. This would be a splash.
How much would have it cost for the Yeti company? Okay, let us have this. You get a royalty, whatever it was. That
Yeti would have been good. Yeah. Mammoth, okay, another in a long list of now a growing list of teams that don't have their nickname that doesn't end in the letter S. We went through that exercise just a couple weeks ago.
Well, wouldn't that be like so many teams, like if for Colorado, they won after they left Quebec, like wouldn't that be something like Arizona all those years? And then finally 2 years later they win in Utah.
Yeah, it's almost like the NHL is set up for that. However, getting Marner at the price that they would probably have to get him at, that would be a bold move. And do they have enough around him to actually contend? Not a bad team.
Not a bad team. No, Dennis Bernstein joined us earlier. Vegas, that feels like a Vegas move, certainly. Maybe
the Kings.
His
Kings. Yeah, Marner in L.A. makes a lot of sense.
How do we feel about this, Danger? After the Amherst losing in the best of 5 to Laval, Laval got swept by Charlotte. 4-0. The Checkers go to the Calder Cup final.
So how would we have felt if we got over a Game 5 in Laval and then you had this happen to you in the Eastern Conference final with a team like Charlotte just running you over? That would have been hard.
That would have been hard. Well, some people would rationalize it like, well, at least we lost to the best team. No, you lost to a team that got mowed down. I thought Laval was, with the amount of penalties they take, how can a team have the best record in the most penalty minutes? This isn't 1978, so that series was not close.
The reason they hate Florida even more, that they're set up for more success with their minor league team doing what they're doing now in the Calder Cup Finals. You have the parent club in the Stanley Cup Final, and you have the Checkers now playing for a Calder Cup.
Well, it's all about an owner. The Amherst were affiliated with Florida going back to 08.
Oh, yeah.
They were terrible. Clemson and Florida State are staying in the ACC for now. There's been a settlement. The lawsuits, they've been dismissed. The ACC schools that wish to depart the conference, they will end up retaining their media rights, but instead, like everyone else, pay an exit fee. That fee starts at $165 million next year, and it drops to $75 million in 2030. 2031 is the first year these schools can get out. Under the new terms, ACC schools will be financially rewarded for drawing higher TV ratings.
Okay, so there's a settlement, and if they wanted to get out, They would have to pay $165 million in 2026.
So the previous, like what the bylaw was before, if you want to leave, we still get your TV money. Well, okay. Then I guess we're kind of staying. Like, what's the point of that? So, what's the number for the SEC? I don't know. Is Clemson what they were? Clemson feels like that's the grand old hotel that doesn't realize it's old, but still thinks like it's all tarnished.
I just think college athletics in general, when we specifically talk football and basketball, nobody is what they were because everybody has the same opportunity. Not everybody, not every school, obviously, but the schools with the deepest pockets are going to be there. Clemson will probably be there. Florida State will certainly be there. I mean, man, Florida State is so disappointing in football last year. What an absolute train wreck last year.
Come on. You secretly love that, right? No, you like Florida State.
Well, I don't want to pat myself on the back, but I took that horrible roster to a championship in college football 25.
Danger. I'm absolutely disgusted with the Miami Marlins.
Same.
They got swept by the Rockies, 3-2 the final
I'm actually impressed. I'm impressed that a team could, for at least a series, be worse than the Colorado Rockies this year.
So the Rockies, in a display of tremendous self-awareness, putting out a tweet after they won the game, wins since June 2nd. Colorado Rockies 3, Scotty Scheffler 0.
That's good.
That's good. Oh, also, right now, who has the most wins in the month of June in Major League Baseball?
The Colorado Rockies.
The Colorado Rockies.
They're a juggernaut. They cannot be contained. Your Mets keep giving the Dodgers trouble.
Oh, I couldn't stay up last night.
I know, but it's funny.
Yeah.
Like that's Dodgers are a good team. Mets are a good team.
Dodgers, same thing as last year. Okay, we're going to fix the problem with pitching. Everyone's hurt. So Gonsolin is out tonight. P.J. Glasser joined us. Like, he's only playing this game. Bet the over.
Yeah.
It's going to be over again.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly. Here's the headline. I'm laughing. Maybe I shouldn't. The WNBA and league security has launched an investigation into the Seattle Storm coaching staff. Uh-oh, what is this about? The league is reviewing a complaint from a former Seattle player who alleges an assistant coach directed profanity at them.
Oh, I'd be done. Well, so all the assistant coach did was swear at the employee?
That's the headline and the story. There's got to be more to the story, right?
What is that profanity? There are scales, right? There's a scale.
Oh, okay. So
there's one in particular that I think if you were to utter it in a WNBA setting, you might get executed on site if you were to utter that profanity.
Well, the difference here is the way the story reads, it's profanity. It didn't say slur.
Oh, I'm not saying slur. I'm not saying
like goodbye. Yeah.
I'm not saying this is a slur. I'm saying this is the mother of all profanities. That if you hurl it in the direction of a woman, let alone a professional athlete,
that's the one you cannot say in front of your lady. That is not.
No. If you say it in front of her, she will say, "I will see you next Tuesday," and you won't see her until next Tuesday.
But women can say that word.
Oh, sure.
They can say that word.
Sure.
Like when
my wife doesn't. I've never heard her say it, ever.
Oh, the executive producer have it. Like,
whoa. That's the reaction. Whenever that word gets, the last time I heard it in a public setting, I was at my lunch spot, and there was a woman behind the counter who was getting berated by a customer, a female customer. And there was a cop standing there.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't stop this customer and this clerk from going back and forth, and they're screaming at each other because somebody got the order wrong, and blah, 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 blah. And as she left, she says, "I'm never coming back here. I'll see you next Tuesday." Ooh. And everybody had the same reaction. Hey, whoa. Like, all the profanities that came before that didn't move the needle. But that one might might lead to a lawsuit, might lead to an investigation in the WNBA.
When I tell you I didn't go to this show, I'm telling you I didn't go to this show, but the executive producer did. Do you remember this tour from years ago called the Vagina Monologues? And this came, I think, over whatever it was. Well, part of it was it's spoken word, right? And it was about empowerment, and the audience is just saying this word. And the host actually got her start on Sesame Street. And the punchline here was, I was always taught C stood for cookie. How did we get off on this tangent? The WNBA.
Yeah, the WNBA.
What? We're investigating over a profanity. Really?
Well,
hostile work environment.
I'm saying if it's that profanity, maybe it does warrant an investigation. By the way, it's a lot more fun if you say the name of that show you into in an Australian accent. The word vagina, much more fun to say in an Australian. Vagina. Much more fun to say in an Australian accent.
Back to sports.
Yes.
Kind of. The NBA Finals begin tomorrow night. Now, Danger, we were joking about this, half joking yesterday, that I don't remember how we got on the topic of Disney and maybe they would need to make cuts at some point. Well,
yeah, because the ratings are going to be low.
Yeah, that's it. Not cuts per se, but there could be a change coming up. Andrew Marchand reporting that Doris is not a given to return to the booth next year with Mike Breen. Richard Jefferson also a question mark in the booth.
Okay. Fine. I'm fine with that. What was your Doris impersonation from yesterday? It was one word. It was perfect. It just, I'm good. She can be a sideline reporter. She can do whatever. I'm good. The broadcast, to me, on ESPN hasn't been the same since it was Breen, Van Gundy, Jackson. They haven't been able to match that. That's the expectation I have.
I like Jeff Van Gundy too.
Doris, welcome into the sports bar. How are you? I'm sad to hear that you might be going, according to Andrew Marchand.
Can I meet your brother-in-law?
He's a big fan.
Well,
He says, because you talk basketball, you give him stirrings. I don't even know what that means, but it's kind of weird and creepy.
You know, I think I should do the show over there. More talent of the other two over there.
Probably right.
Yes.
You're probably right.
Bill Simmons took a shot at Pablo Torre, speaking of taking shots, reporting on the Bill Belichick-Jordan Hudson saga. Simmons taking a shot at Torre, saying that Torre was pretending to be a journalist. Well, you're going to take a shot like that. Torre ended up going on the podcast of Bill Simmons.
Good.
And in the middle of this, dropped this nugget. North Carolina football GM Michael Lombardi, who, by the way, we had on the show way back when because he was doing media at that point. Michael Lombardi is, quote, deeply concerned about the involvement of Jordan Hudson in the program. Simmons didn't ask a follow-up. He pivoted off of it, which is noteworthy as Lombardi used to work for Simmons.
Right.
Simmons did not refute that.
Right. Yeah. He's protecting his guys. Simmons can't take off his New England glasses and view this objectively. And he's got to protect his guys. He's a Belichick fan. He's probably friends with Belichick. And he's had Lombardi as an employee of the Ringer. So, yeah, I get it.
But it's funny how there is this story. And in reading this today from Florio, this recount, where then you just say, okay, well, then what is it with Hudson? And Florio acknowledges, we've heard things. We can't report these things at this point.
Right.
Okay.
There's more out there.
It is going to be a bam. And I would think the majority of Americans be like, what? Really?
It needs to happen before football season starts. Because I think once football season starts, we're going to forget about a lot of this stuff, and we're going to be focused on, are they winning? Are they losing? Winning is going to cure a lot of it. People are going to forget a lot of this reporting that's being done by Pablo Torre and others. I need it to happen. I need some sort of closure to this by the time we get to football season. And by the way, like, beef in sports is good. I like it when two players don't like each other and it's known they don't like. I like Josh Allen, Jalen Ramsey, right? I like that there's a beef there. I like that they don't like each other and that one player can get over on the other player. the saddest beef is two journalists beefing. That is sad. Like the Jordan Schultz, Ian Rappaport, Bill Simmons, Pablo Torre, you're all dorks. This is not a beef. Come on, stop
it's just a content. I could say something crass, but, let's, I'm going to go to happy hour earlier, Danger. 866-4FN, 866-4326. Peter calling in.
Hey, Pete.
Hey, real quick, if they're going to give out Odyssey points for employees, we should give out Muncie points for the show, and they should matter. They should matter as much as compliments on Wednesday from Sean McDermott. So I just want to throw that out there.
Oh,
I got two quick things.
That's pretty good.
I like that.
So two quick things. Number one, I'm all with PJ Glasser. Love Tibbs. I think he's a great coach. I think he fits into the George Karl, Cotton Fitzsimmons, long successful, never winning a championship. What makes him different is he never improved upon the subbing. It was the same issues. I can understand why New York Knicks fans are super frustrated. I can understand that. But no matter what you think about Dolan, if you just watch the basketball, the last 3 years, the Knicks get to the playoffs and they're gassed. And so that's my take on it. The last thing I'm going to say, as someone that lived in Philadelphia when Sean McDermott is there, he's very different than Thibodeau in this sense. I watched Andy Reid, and I watched him there. Sean McDermott has, I wouldn't say he's going to be as successful as Andy Reid. He has that trajectory. He has that influence. The same frustrations that the Eagles fans had with Reid is with McDermott. He's a different guy. And I'm going to be out there. Have a great night, gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you, Pete. Appreciate that. Yeah, so McDermott will get his first Super Bowl ring with which team? If he's on the same trajectory as Reid, it ain't going to be with the team that hired him.
Boy, that would be fun to do for a show if we wanted to encourage more participation. We're going to award Muncie points. What do they get you? Nothing.
Muncie points.
I'll be like Tony Reali. I'll be like, okay, that's worth one.
Yeah,
ding, ding.
you
I'll just randomly give you Muncie
make
points.
up some system, some arbitrary system that doesn't even matter, and every time somebody has a strong take, you get some Muncie points.
Speaking of Muncie, it's an opportunity for us to spread the word tomorrow. So in the studio tomorrow, not on our station, and quite honestly, I have no idea why he's in Rochester, but he's borrowing our studio tomorrow. Sal Capaccio is going to do his show from right where you're standing, Danger, right now, from 10 to noon, Odyssey app, WGR. When you're looking over, does Sal Capaccio be like, why do you have a Chuck Muncie photo here in the studio?
Well, if you're a guest on his show tomorrow, and I would imagine since he's using our studio,
I am going to be a guest 11 a.m.
All right, he'll probably bring it up. So you're ready to tell the story. You're ready
Chuck Muncie.
The legend of Chuck Muncie in the sports bar, and maybe it spreads to the Buffalo audience. And, the legend continues to grow. Pete?
It'll resonate.
Pete, you got us rolling again
with
Muncie points. So good. Appreciate that. Great show today with Dennis Bernstein of the fourth period, PJ Glasser sending in on the BetMGM network. If you missed those conversations, wherever you get your podcasts, you'll find us. Just search out the Sports Bar. You can also go back on our YouTube channel and watch any part of the show that you may have missed on the Odyssey app as well with Rewind. Anything that you may have missed for the next 72 hours is there for you to check out. JR Sport Brief next. Have a great night. Talk to you tomorrow at 3 on The Fan, Rochester.
You're listening to the Sports